Recording in progress. Okay, great. Welcome to Manhattan Community Board 1's monthly full board meeting. It is 6:07. We're calling the meeting to order on Tuesday, April 26th. My name is Tammy Meltzer and I'm chair of Community Board 1, joined with our full board and office team. And let's get straight to it. We will start with our public session, for which the members of the public get 2 minutes each to sign in. And let's see if we have anybody who has signed in for the public session. Okay, we're going to call on, in this order, Elizabeth Berger, and then Diane Stein. So let's start with Elizabeth Berger. Lucian, can you find them?
Elizabeth, you can unmute yourself now.
Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi. Well, actually, you can let Diane Stein go first because she's actually, I'm in IPN as well, but I'd rather follow up with probably more information and let her do the basics.
That's fine, no problem. So let's go to Diane Stein. If you don't mind, we're going to put you back on mute.
Okay.
And then Diane, we'll have you go first. Welcome, Diane.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome.
Okay. All right. Hi. My name is Diane Stein. I'm a resident of IPN, and for identification purposes, I'm a public member of the Quality of Life Committee, and I'm here to talk in support of the resolution to support New York State legislation that would reform and enhance SCREE and DREE eligibility in New York City. These are two programs that will freeze the rents for eligible seniors and disabled people. Currently, some former Mitchell-Lama complexes like IPN are not eligible because they did not fall under rent stabilization. And when the Mitchell-Lama program ended, a number of tenants remained stabilized through an agreement with the landlord. And the rents keep going up, and these people they have no recourse. And these are the people who helped build their neighborhoods, and now they're being pushed out. And the legislation would extend eligibility anyway, this legislation passed the Senate, but it needs to be passed the Assembly. So I need to urge Assembly Member Glick, who is the sponsor of the bill, and Yulene Yu to try to get other members on board, so that this would greatly help a lot of the people, not just IPN, but other former Mitchell-Lamas as well. And it's important to get this passed now before the primaries, because seniors do vote. And I'm hoping that the board had passed a similar bill supporting the Senate legislation. So I'm hoping that they will support this legislation as well. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much. Then we're going to go to Elizabeth Berger afterwards.
Okay, let's see, am I still on? Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Great. I also live in IPN, and I want to say that with this bill, which is in the the Real Property Taxation Committee right now, and it's not exactly a rent freeze. You have to basically each year they look at your income and come up with their percentage, or the percentage that you pay of the full rent. And just FYI, so people know, this money does not come out of Albany's pocket. So the fact that Albany is in charge of the yay or nay, it's good to know that even if when they pass it, it doesn't affect them at all. It doesn't affect New York State's budget. And for New York City, it's merely a change in the taxation. And we are looking to pass to get more notice out before the primaries. And so we need some extra information that I'm saying, aside from what I know and what I've looked up, I do have the list of the 8 Democrats that are on the Real Property Taxation Committee. And the chair of that committee is Sandra Gallup from District 95, which is in Cortland, Croton-on-the-Hudson, Ossining, Peekskill, Putnam. So not necessarily in our area. And this will only affect specifically cities, cities in New York State with more than 1 million people, which is a way to say New York City. So that's all it affects. And let's see, so I'm looking to know how I'd like someone to reach me at some point so we can talk about what we want to next steps. I understand that you folks are just
wrap up, Elizabeth.
But we would like more help than just a yay.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Elizabeth, and for your support of the bill. Moving from there, let's go to Nancy Kong and then Lynn Ellsworth. Let's find Nancy. Lucian, can you unmute Nancy, please? She's in the attendee section.
Okay, and you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Nancy, welcome to Community Board 1.
Thanks so much, Tammy. My name is Nancy Kong. I'm part of Park Row Alliance, which is a coalition that includes residents, small businesses, and grassroots community groups advocating for investments in our community. I wanted to first thank Mr. Goldstein and the Waterfront Parks and Cultural Committee for their support for the beautification of Park Row project. I wanted to ask the full community board to support that resolution tonight. A little bit about the history of Park Row. It was part of the 5 Points neighborhood, was nicknamed Newspaper Row, was the site of the Park Row terminal after the Brooklyn Bridge was built, and held the cable cars going back and forth on the bridge. In the 70s, One Police Plaza was built, and for the next 30 years, it was used to connect Chinatown with the Civic Center, Brooklyn Bridge, Seaport, and all points south. After 9/11, you're all aware Park Row is closed to vehicular traffic except for buses and emergency vehicles. Based on recent stakeholder feedback, including CCBA, Chinese Chambers of Commerce, Chinatown BID, executive directors from Trungpak and a Hamilton Madison House, the consensus is that Park Row is still a main artery into Chinatown, still critical. We lost economic opportunities, impacting the full recovery for Chinatown after its closure. It's in a state of constant disrepair. There's cracked sidewalks, unsightly concrete medians, steel barricades, temporary lighting, uneven walkways, and blocked bike lanes. We also heard concerns about the lack of adequate open and green space. We have a unique opportunity to address this by reimagining Park Row as the southern gateway into Chinatown. Again, I'm here to ask CB1 to pass the resolution supporting Park Row beautification plan and ask our elected officials in New York City to resurrect the city's fully developed 2009 plan, which includes widening the pedestrian walkway, planting trees, other greenery along the path, include well-marked bike lanes, a pedestrian ramp connecting One Police Plaza to Park Row, lighting under the One Police Plaza overpass, painted murals, lighting, and wayfinding guides for the staircase leading from the Brooklyn Bridge. We're also asking to reopen 50% of the small banks and the elevated basketball courts along the Avenue the Finest. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for engaging and speaking up. Our last speaker this evening for the public session is Lynn Ellsworth. Lynn, I'm looking for you.
I'm not seeing Lynn Ellsworth at the moment, but I'm Dinah and Lucy. If you see Lynn Ellsworth, let me know.
Yeah, if she may be in under something else, because I do see a hand up for Charles Lay.
When I spoke with Lynn this morning, she did tell me she had another meeting this evening. So if we don't see her on, that might be why.
We can unmute Charles Lay as a member of the public. I'm not sure what he's here for because he did not sign in. So,
Hey, Charles, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, Charles. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Charles. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. My name is Charles Lai. I'm the executive director of Trungpak, for which I am actually going to testify regarding the fence that had just been put up today in preparation for the jail demolition. When we saw the actual implementation of the fence, the solid panels that is now on top of the Jersey barriers actually created a blind alleyway between the building and the Jersey barriers. And in that sense, it actually has created a very dangerous blind alleyway, and that it's creating a extremely unsafe condition for my tenants, and also, of course, the larger community. So we are absolutely against how the fence is being put up. We want the Gramercy in the city to change the fencing so that it does not create a blind alleyway that someone can hide in between, so that folks across the street can actually see into that space, so that it will create a much safer environment for the seniors to walk through into our building. And so, and it is especially important right now, given the fact that there is such a high level of anti-Asian hate, and the community is on high alert, that our community is being targeted, and that the vulnerability of the seniors and the women in particular. So we want again, want Gramercy and the city to change how the fence have been put up so that the city will not contribute to the unsafe area. So anyway, I just want to make this as a part of the public record for the community board to also assist us in changing the fence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Charles. And I am in receipt of your email. So I know that you sent that just before the meeting. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And with that, I do not see that Lynn has had a chance to log on. Nope. So I think that we will close the public session at 6:21. We do have a public hearing scheduled, which I believe I need to open the public hearing and then close the public hearing, having seen no one sign up to testify for the public hearing. Unless there is something I don't see on the back end. Lucy or Lucian, do you have anybody who has signed in that I do not have on my sheet?
I do not.
Perfect. So with that, we will then considerably close the public hearing and then start moving along at 6:21 with our business session, which we're going to start with approval of the minutes, and then we'll work into our elected reps and our electeds and move on with the business of the board. So absolutely. There we go. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes, or do I have an adjustment? I believe there is a small adjustment from Mr. Amoruso. Mark, for the record, go ahead.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, but now we're recording. If you can just make a correction to the full board attendance from last month, I was not late. If that could just be corrected, thank you.
My pleasure. Mimi, we'll get that changed. Thank you, Mark. Any other notes for the minutes?
I actually meant to contact Lucian this week too. I don't think I signed into Quality of Life or Executive Committee, but I was present.
I know you were at both.
I'll make those corrections.
Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Mariama. Anybody else? Perfect. So, Mimi, take it away. Let's call the question and do a roll call to get us moving. Uh-oh. Did I get
Okay. I don't see a place for minutes on here. So I'm just gonna make a new one. We'll deal with it.
There you go.
Cool. Mark? Amaruso?
Yes, as amended.
Alice? Blank? Sorry, I'm losing my mind here. Blank?
Blank, yes.
Brown Kennedy?
Kennedy votes yes.
Okay. You're very quiet, Brown Kennedy. Cameron?
Cameron, yes.
Cassell?
Cassell, yes.
Cauley? Is Cauley here? Okay. Chang?
Chang, yes.
Thank you. Chapman?
Chapman, yes.
Thank you. Charkoudian?
Charkoudian, yes.
Thank you. Cole?
Cole, yes.
Thank you. Coleman?
Yes.
Thank you. Corman?
Corman, yes.
Thank you. Pucha?
Can you come back to me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Curtis?
Curtis, yes.
Thank you. Airman? Bruce Airman? All right. Flores?
Flores, yes.
Thank you. Flynn, yes. Forsberg?
Forsberg votes yes.
Thank you. Franker?
Franker, yes.
Thank you. Friedman? Friedman? Froman?
Froman, yes.
Thank you. Galloway?
Galloway, yes.
Thank you. Goldstein?
Goldstein, yes.
Thank you. Grant?
Grant, yes.
Thank you. Gupta?
Gupta, yes.
Thank you. James? Mariam?
James, yes.
Thank you. Joyce? Trisha Joyce? Okay. Betty Kay? Thank you. Cannell?
Cannell, yes.
Thank you. Kettering?
Kettering, yes.
Thank you. Kopel? Kopel? All right. Joe Lerner, it looked like you were here. Would you like to vote?
Lerner, yes.
Hey,
All
Joe.
right. Hey, Joe.
Copel is here, so he just has to figure out how to unmute himself.
Okay. Kopel, do you want to vote now, please? Kopel?
Come back to him.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Lewinson?
Lewinson, yes.
Awesome, thank you. Lynn? Bernard Lynn. All right. Mahoney.
Mahoney, yes.
Thank you. McHugh. McHugh.
She will be a little late.
Okay. Meltzer.
Meltzer, yes. Thank you.
Alrighty. Moore. Moore.
Come back to her. She's trying to
All
sign
right.
in the office.
Okay. Mullen.
Mullen, yes.
Thank you. Schneck.
Schneck votes yes.
Thank you. Star. Laura Star. Alrighty. Jimmy Song.
Jimmy Song votes yes.
Thank you. Vera Song.
Vera votes yes.
Thank you. Townley.
Yeah. Townley, yes.
Thank you. Z. Chowsy. All right. You.
You votes yes.
Thank you. Zelter.
Zelter, yes.
Thank you. I'm going to go back up to Kucha.
So I vote yes, because that's for the March date, right? So yes.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Airman. Friedman. Joyce. Coppell.
That's the weird thing, because we know Joel is here. He already unmuted himself once. Lucian,
Yeah.
can you unmute him?
Oh, you which member?
Joel.
Coppell. He's on the phone.
Okay, Joel, send a request. *6 should be able to do it. But see if that works for you.
Yes.
Hey,
Okay.
Joel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel.
And we have Lynn. McHugh will be late. Moore. Pat here?
Not yet.
Okay. Laura Star.
Laura's here, but she can't unmute. So can somebody help Laura as well?
Is she in attendance?
Lucian, can you move her over? She's in the attendees section under.
Yeah.
Okay, Laura, you should be able to unmute now.
Yeah, thank you. I'm here. I vote yes. Thanks.
Thank you. And is Chow here?
Okay.
All right, we're good.
We're good. All right, so let's move on to updates from our elected officials. I do see we have our reps here.
And Senator Kavanaugh is with us as well.
So since the senator is here himself, we'll start with Senator Kavanaugh. Thank you so much, sir, for coming.
Thank you. Have I achieved unmutedness?
Yes, you have.
All right. Thank you very much. It's nice to see everybody. I know you have a few folks will probably be giving reports on some similar terrain, so I'll try to hit some highlights. But it's been a big month since I saw you last. We adopted the state budget about 8 days late, which is quite late these days, but not so late as it used to be back in the bad old days. It's a $220 billion budget. There were enormous investments in all kinds of things that New Yorkers really care about. As the housing chair, I'll just start with a few of the highlights in housing. The budget contains a total of $8 billion in funding for housing. It's $5.5 billion in capital and another $2.5 billion in expenditures in operating money of various kinds. I'm particularly pleased that we've added a new infusion of money into the emergency rental assistance program. That is a little over $1 billion of new funding for that, and that is mostly about $800 million of it is state money. The federal government, of course, has been providing substantial funds for that. To my knowledge, we're the only state in America that is putting substantial amounts of money from the state budget into that process. We still do need to fight for additional federal money. There'll be 5 more instances where the federal government will be reallocating to New York. And by my estimate, we need $1 billion or $2 more to cover the full need. But we're at this point, we will have allocated about $4 billion for that purpose to get people out of rent arrears and, past the economic hardship of the pandemic. We also secured $350 million in capital funding for NYCHA. That is a small fraction of what is needed, but it is also the largest amount the state has ever put forth for NYCHA. So, it should be meaningful for a number of significant projects. And of course, we have, really desperate capital needs there in our community and throughout the city. We also have new funding to subsidize Mitchell Llama co-ops, about $100 million, with some idea that there may also be some new homeowner opportunities from that same source of money. One disappointment that just, it's not all good news. The Housing Access Voucher Program, which a lot of you have heard me talk about in the past, is an effort to create a new Section 8 style subsidy to address homelessness in particular. It's the quickest, most effective way to get people into permanent housing. Unfortunately, that was not accepted, although we came very close and both the Assembly and the Senate supported it, and many advocates throughout the state. And interestingly, the real estate industry was actively pushing for it at the end as well. But there's obviously plenty of work undone whenever we get this thing, whenever we get through the budget process. I'll also be fighting for the All Electric Building Act, which we talked about doing during the budget, but is really non-budgetary, and I'm hoping to now get that done by June 2nd. Just another thing of local interest, we fought for a very substantial increase in money for CUNY, including, of course, our own BMCC. We fell short of where the Senate and some of my colleagues in the Assembly were pushing for, but we did get a significant year-over-year increase in operating subsidies from the state for CUNY and nearly $1 billion in capital that can be used to improve the infrastructure. It still remains to be determined how that will be divided among the various campuses, but we should be able to see some significant improvements in some of the aging buildings at CUNY, including at BMCC. A couple other just items on the legislative front. We've had a number of significant fires in the state. We passed a substantial fire safety package. I reported that of the Housing Committee I chair today, expected to go to the floor of the Senate next week to strengthen various provisions to make sure that our buildings are up to fire code. We're also moving moved a bill out of committee today that will make it easier to convert hotels to permanent housing. In the budget, we put some state money up for that purpose, but some of the regulatory, there are various regulatory provisions that if we change them, we would facilitate those conversions, and the city of New York has been pushing for us to do that as well. So I'm hoping we'll get that done by June 2nd. I've also introduced a bill. Some of you may know that the Emergency Rental Assistance Program mentioned before, under current law, public housing and other subsidized housing residents are only eligible for that after other residents have been paid, which, given the enormous demand for that program, has meant that we haven't had a lot of that money. We've had nearly none of that money going to public housing residents. I've got a bill to repeal that. That is getting a lot of traction in both houses, and just allow public housing residents to access that money going forward. It'll help both residents get out of under those arrears, and also will help our the housing authorities balance their budget and make sure they're paying their bills. On local issues, we've been working with our 250 Water Street Working Group, and we've had, I think a number of people on this call were there, so I'll keep it short, but just to say that, DC and Langen Engineering have been presenting on the upcoming foundation work and remediation that's set to begin early in the coming month. And it's, we very appreciative of CB1 and my elected official colleagues co-sponsoring that. We think it's been a valuable effort to get reliable information out there and make sure that the developer and DC are doing what they need to do to keep our community safe. We've also been continuing to engage with the state agencies and some of our community folks on the 5 World Trade Center development, particularly focusing on the affordable housing component and working with the Coalition for 100% Affordable 5 World Trade Center and others. And we had a meeting last month and got another one scheduled for the latter part of this week to sort of continue the discussion of how we can maximize affordability in that building. We spent a lot of time in the past several months on 20 Exchange Place, the very tall building with very non-functioning elevators. It's a mess. We're trying to figure out how we can pressure Con Ed in the building and the city to really resolve it. Right now, there's a lot of dispute among engineers about what's causing the problem, but we're continuing to work on that and we'll continue to push. And I think we've also just been talking about Battery Park City affordability, and I've met with various coalitions and do expect to be introducing legislation shortly that's intended to facilitate the efforts to keep the community affordable. I don't think we can solve the whole problem just with legislation, but I think we can do some things that are going to be helpful. And we continue to be focusing on the area around the Brooklyn Bridge Manhattan side and trying to make that space more accessible to the public, make more of the space accessible and open to the public. And we are in the process of scheduling meetings and with the DOT commissioner and working with our colleagues, a bunch of elected colleagues, and Rosa Chang and others on that as well. So sorry, that was a little bit verbose, but happy to take any questions if you got time for them.
You have 3 minutes for questions. So Bob, if you would like to ask a question, please make sure you've got your hand up. Bob Townley's hand went up first. So we're going to go Bob, Alice, and Eric Flores in that order. Thank you so much.
Senator, I hope all is well. Your staff was kind enough to meet with a coalition of community groups representing a lot of parents and a lot of organizations on 5 World Trade Center. We have submitted asks to the 5 World Trade to the LMDC, and we have not gotten any answers or any collaboration as to what is possible as a community facility there. And so again, I want to thank your staff. This is only about 2 weeks ago. I recognize everything moves slow, and I just wanted to put that on your radar screen.
Yeah, no, I should have mentioned that as well, and I appreciate that. And I was unable to do the meeting myself, but I did get the readout from my staff, and yeah, we will follow up and try to get at least a reaction from the relevant agencies.
A reaction would be good.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, after Bob is Alice, then Eric, then Justine.
Hi, Senator Kavanaugh. Thanks a lot. I'm just going to bring another matter to your attention that we've talked about before. As you're probably aware, the New York State Historic Preservation Office determined that the criminal courts building and prison at 100 Center Street was determined eligible for the state and national registers under Criterion C as an impressive example of modern civic architecture, and Criterion A for its association with the history of criminal law. Yet the building is imminently to come down, despite the fact that the architect who renovated the building in 1983, Peter Sampton, is recently on record stating he believes this building can and should be reused. There are 2 state-owned facilities in Manhattan that have for some reason closed, one in Harlem and one in Chelsea. And I'd like to ask if you would be able to help the community save the building and have the city consider using the state detention facilities that have been closed mysteriously, and we do not know why. So I'm not sure what you might be able to do for us, but as you know, we're very much on record opposed to the demolition of the existing jail and the building of a new one.
Yeah, I've taken the position in a number of, I think one of the fundamental flaws with the, let me start with the basics. I support the closure of Rikers Island. I've been there a few times. It's not a suitable place. And that does mean providing additional jail space throughout the city. And I support that as well. I think the fundamental flaw with what the city did is they basically had 4 sites. So they decided to do 4 jails. And that meant giant jails on 4 sites. And, it's just like, it's basic arithmetic. Once, if you're going to put that much, there's a modern jail requires a certain amount of space per person. And so by definition, if you're doing all of the need on 4 sites, you have to go large. So I would support more sites. Having said that, and I have raised those particular sites, but I think that there are good reasons to think those sites might be good ones. I think more generally, if the city and the state were creative, they could find other options as well. And I've urged the city to do that. And again, that urging fell on deaf ears in the prior administration, but I think it's worth continuing the conversation. In terms of, I've also joined all of you in suggesting that they should slow down and take the input and respond to it, to this board's input and lots of folks in the community. I also showed up at a rally to make that point recently. So I agree with you. I think that it's unclear to me how much the new administration wants to reopen the conversation. But I've joined in pushing them to do that. And I don't know whether the state has a formal ability to prevent the, to use the sort of the fact that that they've been designated as a means of preventing any of this project. But I do think that it's important to, it's important to figure out how much of this requires destruction of the building and building anew. And again, if you're trying to do the scale they're talking about, you probably need to do that. But I object to the scale. So,
right. Well, I don't want to belabor this, but I think specifically where the state could come in is on the 2 state-owned facilities that were closed, as to, getting an answer as to why and why we cannot use those facilities.
Yeah, I think I'm suggesting if the city were to ask the state for access to those facilities, I think it would be, to my knowledge, the city has not expressed a desire to, those are, as you described, state facilities that are in other folks' neighborhoods that, may have some other thoughts about how those sites should be used. So I don't want to sort of prejudge and say the answer is those particular facilities, but I do think that it is worth considering other facilities. I don't think the city of New York expressed any interest in doing those facilities previously. So, but
yeah, sorry.
I'll follow up.
Thanks, Senator.
All right, we have 2 people left, and we need to be cognizant of the time because we do have other people. All right, so Eric and then Justine.
Good evening, Senator. Are you able to go into any details about the affordability legislation for Battery Park City, and I guess particularly what problems we can solve that you mentioned?
I'm mindful of Tammy's admonition to keep this short, and that's a lot.
To the best of your
generally speaking, sorry, just let me actually say it this way. This board has made several resolutions on this topic. I have read those closely, and I am trying to incorporate the ideas of this board to the extent they are legislatable ideas into a legislative package. I don't think I can. I don't think we're going to dictate, land rents, pilots, all of those things in statute, in some sort of schedule that gets enacted. I think that we can legislatively create some tools that will be helpful, both in treating people in Battery Park City equally with people who are not Battery Park City in certain ways, that by addressing, sorry, I'm trying to keep this short. I think we will announce a package soon, very soon, and share it with all of you, and we'll be open to input. I don't think summarizing beyond that right now is going to be within my 3 minutes, anywhere near my 3 minutes here.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Senator Kavanaugh, feel free to come to a Battery Park City Committee meeting and share further details, because it is a very valued question.
Yes.
Okay, so if you'll put your hand down, please. Justine, you're next.
Thank you. No, and thanks, Eric, because you kind of teed me up. I have two things to just ask you about, Senator. So with the propositions that you're going for, I appreciate that. Well, specifically, what do you ask? Do you have anything that you're specifically asking for in your bills, or not? Because I guess I'd like to talk to you about the specifics, just quick.
I'm open to talk to you anytime about the specific. I think summarizing it today is beyond what I can do right now. I mean, you and I have spoken about it before. We'll speak about it again. I've also been meeting with various groups from Battery Park City.
Stakeholders. I know you've spoken with the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association, representatives from the Homeowners Coalition. I thank you for that.
The Alliance and others. I will. Let me say this. We're working through details. I've had conversations with colleagues, including in the executive branch, and I'm trying to figure out what makes sense. And again, very shortly, I will have something that I can publicly share and get your feedback on.
Okay.
That would be good. Wait,
Justine,
can I finish my question about the other part of it?
I thought you did.
No, sorry. Okay. Quick. I know we got to keep going. I know. And then I see
Vicky's hand is up, and we have other people to go.
I know I do. So no, I'll be quick. And Senator, thank you so much.
Justine, take my time. My hand is crossed. My computer will not change it. I apologize.
No, okay. I won't take your time, Vicky, but I'll just.
I don't have time. My hand will not go down.
It's down now.
It's down now. There you go. All right. I'll be quick. So Senator, thank you so much. Thank you. I know we were supposed to meet with the Homeowners Coalition on Friday and that got pushed back. So I'd love to have that meeting before you release anything. And then I want to invite you again, as Tammy did, to the Battery Park City Committee meeting. If you can come personally or someone from your staff.
Okay, my thought is that we should get this stuff out there. This session ends June 2nd, and we're going to want input from a wide range of folks. And so I don't want to commit to say I'll hold the bill. I think when
I don't want you to hold it, but I would like to talk to you.
I'm always happy to talk. But
thank you so much, and thank you for World Trade Center 5. Appreciate that.
Great, thanks.
Okay, seeing no further hands, and thank you so much. We will end your time with us. But I do
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Senator, for coming, and thank you for always sending somebody so many reasons. I assume that means that Emily does not need to chat tonight, so I will not recognize Emily, and I will move straight forward to Hannah Wienerman from Congressman Nadler's office. Hannah? Hi, Hannah. Yep, I see your hand. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Pleasure to be with you all. Okay, so earlier in the month, the Biden administration announced that they would extend the pause on student loan payments through August 31st. So Congressman Nadler applauds the decision and continues to call for the cancellation of student loan debt. The Social Security Administration just announced that people who are unable to enroll in Medicare because they couldn't get through to Social Security via phone, we heard from a lot of folks that they were having issues. So the deadline for annual enrollment was March 31st, but now anyone who's had difficulty in reaching the Social Security Administration after January 1st, 2022, now has until December 30th, 2022 to enroll. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact the office and I will put the information in the chat. Speaking of Medicare, folks with Medicare Part B or Medicare Advantage plans can now receive up to 8 free over-the-counter COVID tests for each month at participating pharmacies, which include CVS, Rite Aid, and Walgreens. It doesn't have to be your regular pharmacy. It could be any of the participating pharmacies, but just make sure to bring your red, blue, and white Medicare card. The last thing is, I'm gonna make this short tonight. If you plan to travel this summer, please start looking at your passports and making sure that they are updated. We had a lot of folks last summer that were running into time issues getting their passports validated in time. So if you have any questions about it, you can feel free to call our office now, but I would highly recommend that you check it out beforehand. That's it for tonight. If you have any questions, I'll leave my information in the chat. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Wow, Hannah, thank you so much. Rocking along. All right, after Hannah, I see Theo Perez is here from Assemblymember News Office. And after Theo, we'll do Max, who's here from Councilmember Marte's office. And then after that, we do have somebody from our fine AG's office. So
Excellent. Good evening, Tammy, and good evening, Community Board. My name is Theo Perez from the Office of New York State Assemblymember Yulene New. A couple of quick updates for you tonight. I know the Senator already went over the budget, so I won't belabor too many points there other than to stress that there is additional ERAP money. So if you know people who are behind on rent payments due to the pandemic, have them get in contact with our office and we can try to help them access that money. And additionally, we're very happy that the budget included $20 million for the AAPI equity budget. That was a big push on the part of the Assembly member, and that's money that will be going towards the needs of the AAPI community across our district and across our state. We're very happy to be having that. As for what remains of the legislative session, we have a couple of lifts we're trying to get through by the end. Namely, we have 2 Battery Park City bills, one that has to do with the land rents and another that has to do with representation of Battery Park City residents on the board of the authority. So we are hoping to be able to push those as best we can. And some of our other main pushes for the rest of the session are the Consumer and Small Business Protection Act, which I've spoken about with you before. And very soon we're going to be dropping a bill regarding extending the amount of time where workers who were suffering from illnesses related to 9/11 will be able to claim benefits from the state. Beyond that, on the community front, the Assembly member had COVID this month, so she wasn't out and about in the community as much as she would have otherwise liked. But we continue to remain engaged on 250 Water Street, on 5 World Trade Center, and on 20 Exchange Place, the perennial issue that has sprouted there. Beyond that, the Assembly member was very happy to join Downtown Little League for their opening game earlier this month. That was a lot of fun. And I think those are my main points for today. So I will yield whatever time I have left.
thank you very, very much. Let's see if there are any hands up. Seeing none, I will just say thank you very much. And actually, we are going to change up the order of who's speaking a little bit because I found out we had...
Tammy, I raised my hand.
Richard Corman, I did not see your hand. Go for it, Richard.
I was a little slow with it.
There you go. Got to be speedy tonight. I've had enough caffeine.
I'm trying. Hi, Theo. Thanks very much. I just wanted to ask you one question, given that we just heard from Senator Kavanaugh about preparing bills related to Battery Park City. Is your office coordinating the bills that you're proposing as well or advocating for?
Coordinating with whom, Richard?
With Senator Kavanaugh.
Theo? Can the office make sure Theo can unmute to answer the question?
Sorry, I was hammering the unmute button furiously. No, I think there's some disagreement. Senator Kavanaugh spoke about his reluctance to sort of schedule things regarding things like pilot payments and land leases. So I think there's some daylight there. I'd love to communicate more regarding the representation on the authority bill. I think there's room for us to collaborate there. We will continue to advocate for our bills, which we crafted in coalition with community associations, and we hope will get passed.
All righty. Thank you, Richard. Now, seeing no other questions, thank you, Theo, very much. And for all of our fantastic elected officials, please make sure when your representatives come that they sign in, because otherwise I don't necessarily know you're here. So we're going to do a little bit of shuffling so I can make sure that we get everyone. And we want to welcome Keisha Sutton James, who is our fabulous...
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, no, you have to wait. Assemblymember Fall, I apologize because I don't know who it is. Is this Assemblymember Fall himself?
No, this would be his Deputy Chief of Staff.
Do me a favor, you're going to wait because we do have Keisha Sutton James who's with us, and she's going to go right before you. So I apologize. Thank you so much, and thank you. We'll be right there. So Manhattan Deputy Borough President Keisha Sutton James Thank you so much for coming tonight. It is unusual that we get the Deputy Borough President, so we are appreciative of your time and joining us with Community Board 1. And we may have to.
So you can unmute yourself, and if you want, turn your camera on. I made you a panelist.
I know that WebEx is. There you go. You're on.
Hi.
Hey.
But you're
You
muted.
have to work on your mute button.
I apologize. There's a lot going on here. So now I'm not used to WebEx. I apologize for my delay. But I hopefully you will get to see more of me. As you all know, I think, you know, Mark, our borough president, has been coming in person for many meetings. So it is my treat to be here tonight. Thank you so much, Chair Meltzer, for having me this evening. Excuse me. I apologize. Sorry, I'm having all kinds of allergy issues as well. I'm so sorry. I promise it's not what I'm about to talk about, which is COVID recovery. Just a few points if I can touch upon. First of all, you know, making sure that we are wishing everyone still a happy and safe Ramadan, Passover, all of the holidays. But in terms of COVID recovery, I just wanted to touch upon we all know that the borough president released his 16-point plan to combat Omicron, and then he launched the COVID recovery task force. In addition to that, he's also launched an initiative called Stay Healthy to Stay Open, which is effectively calling on city leaders to focus on a few major areas: continuing to get people boosted, giving out COVID safety bags. That includes a high quality mask, as well as several test kits, sanitizer, et cetera, et cetera. He's been giving out ones also that include thermometers. Also calling for there to be masks at every public building, for there to be better data collection, including and especially in every community, in particular those that have been hardest hit. So we have been giving out these safety bags, and we're just about out of the safety bags, but we're going to be doing a lot more safety kit distribution. So we will be not coming down. We are in the area already, so we'll be giving out test kits in the area shortly, in the next couple of weeks, actually. Around budget, there's obviously a lot to be said around the borough president and the budget. He's submitted proposal. We submitted last week our report that took into account all of the feedback that we'd gotten from all of the community boards. So thank you so much for the feedback that you shared, and all the prioritization that each of you did. In particular, I'll highlight one area that the borough president is particularly, but there's so many areas, but one that the borough president is particularly passionate about, and that's parks. I think you know that our city budget currently allocates about a 0.5 percentage point to parks, and we're calling for that number to increase to 1%. I heard the mayor discussing, I think 20,000 trees, and planting 20,000 trees in the address today, and we're hoping that number will increase greatly. You all probably very much know about the borough president's call. Actually, all of the borough presidents, all 5 borough presidents came together in a clarion call for over 1 million trees, 1 million new trees. Moving on to housing. Currently, as you I'm sure know, there are 20,000 pending eviction cases in New York City Housing Court. And the borough president wrote to Judge Janet DuFiore last month regarding the Office of Court Administration's refusal to the Right to Counsel's Coalition's request to only schedule cases where tenants are represented by an attorney, and to match legal service providers' capacity. He is in lockstep with Legal Aid Society, New York Legal Assistance Group, Legal Services NYC, all of whom are making the same call. And we are still hopeful. Legal Aid most recently announced that they cannot take 130 cases in Manhattan forcing low-income tenants to represent themselves. So we are still pushing on that issue and hopeful that there will be a change in the OCA's approach and policy. On small businesses, only 2 more points on small businesses. As a reminder, applications are still open for the Manhattan Small Business Booster Loan Program, which is sponsored by our office and the Hebrew Free Loan Society. As a reminder, the program offers up to a $50,000 a zero interest loan that can be used for things like equipment, rent, utilities, marketing, etc. You can contact our office for assistance at 212-669-8300 or at info@manhattanbp.nyc.gov. Again, that's 212-669-8300 or info@manhattanbp.nyc.gov. And then finally, I'm sure many of you all know about the changes around the open meetings law. Earlier this month, he was, as you know, joined by all of the borough presidents in calling for a permanent hybrid option, and that the state budget was included an agreement to allow for hybrid options through June 8th, and then after that point, there is a quorum requirement, but some will be able to serve virtually. We're still hopeful that while that's a positive step, we're still hopeful that the legislature will continue to tweak that so that there will be some more clarity for community boards, because and we are actually working with community boards to offer some draft language, and we'll be doing that in Friday's borough service meeting. And that is it for my report. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
There are 3 hands up, and I'll go in order that they went up. So Mimi, Francis, and then Rosa. And let's try and all be somewhat on the concise side.
Right.
Mimi, you're first.
Hi. On March 30th, on Twitter, Mark Levine said that it's way too hard to find a public bathroom in NYC. For decades, there's been talk of putting public restrooms on the street. Let's finally do it. At least one in every neighborhood, open 24/7. This is a public health and equity issue. Do we have more information on that?
Sorry, you broke up. Did you say, do we have, I apologize. You said, do we have any more information? Did you say something else?
Oh, on the plan to bring one restroom to every neighborhood that's open 24/7.
So I know that that was an item that was part of the budget recommendations that we submitted last week. I guess I'd have to circle back with you shortly to find out if there's anything more that has happened in this short time. I don't recall having heard anything about this in today's in the mayor's address today, but I will see if there's anything about that in the mayor's address, and also if there's anything more that I can report on that issue other than it being in our report that was submitted last week.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving along to Francis.
Hi, and thank you very much for all thank you very much for all your work you're doing around COVID. My main concern in that area, and I was wondering what the borough president is doing and trying to initiate. It's good that we're giving out more home testing kits, but as it was stated on the news on the national level and even on the local level, the numbers are low, but they're slowly rising. But the issue is about self-reporting. And the reason that the numbers are so low now is because everybody's using the home testing kits, but they're not reporting anything. I know I don't, when I've used it, I haven't reported to any place, and I don't think there's any instructions to encourage people to do that. So that's why if there's a test outside, a test unit outside, I'll go there because I know the numbers will go directly in to wherever it needs to go. But I was wondering if there are any plans to have any sort of education promotion about encouraging people to report their self-testing, their home testing kit results, regardless of which way it is. Because if it's positive, of course, it gets fed into the system. But just recently, they were saying on the news that the numbers are really deceiving because of the fact that we have so many people out there doing testing at home, but who's reporting it and who's taking down the correct data. And I would hope that the borough president is looking at that and making some kind of plans to implement some kind of education so that we begin to see the real numbers, because they're worse than what they're being reported. Thank you.
So thank you for the question. I apologize. In giving my quick COVID summary, I omitted several points, frankly, that were part of Mark's, the borough president's stay open to stay healthy to stay open plan, and that is one of them. And in fact, I went through the same thing. My whole family had COVID a few weeks ago, and the school didn't require a PCR test. But I knew that we needed to have a PCR test in order for the city to know that my kids had tested positive. Excuse me. So yes, it's part of what the plan that he has been calling for the city to, frankly, to elevate. B, he has definitely tweeted about it, and we, I guess certainly I can bring back to the group that we can do more outreach and education around that issue in particular. But the answer is yes, he's very much aware. The plan also calls for greater testing of runoff water and several other items. I don't know if there's, again, I'm not really familiar with webinar with WebEx events, but if there's a chat, maybe Andrew can drop the link for the plan into a chat so that you can see all the points.
We have it. Andrew's familiar with how we run, so it's not a problem. He can send everything to Lucian and we can post everything for you, so no problem. All right. Thank you on that. We've got 2 more hands up, and remember, we have 4 more elected officials to go. So I am Vicky and Bruce. I mean Rosa, and then Bruce, and then we're ending. I apologize, Vicky.
Okay. Am I next or not?
No, it's Rosa. I apologize. It was Rosa's hand that was up when I announced the order, and then we're going to move on because we have Assemblymember Fall has representation, and we have 3 others. So let's.
Hi, Ms. Sutton James. Nice to see you again. I think we met briefly at Mark Levine's event for women. So thank you very much for coming. It's awesome to see you. 1 million trees. We think 20,000 trees is way too little. So how do we advocate for and actually get 1 million trees? Because I think that is super important. We obviously think that parks are actually essential infrastructure, and that was absolutely brought to light during coronavirus, and that the neighborhoods that are severely underparked like ours, and that will get even more underparked because of all the resiliency work that we are undertaking that's already started in some areas and will definitely ramp up this year and take a lot of park space, perimeter park space offline. Is a major problem for our community. And so how do we get some of those 1 million trees in our neighborhood as quickly as possible? How do we advocate for 1% of the budget? What do we need to do to make this happen?
I am so glad that you asked because we are actually working internally around on a plan to bring as many as we possibly can, groups on board with us to help us with the advocacy. So social media assets, sign-on letter, those kinds of assets is what we're looking to bring together. We're having meetings internally to get those out to people. So we will definitely be following up because you have raised your hand in more ways than one, not just on Zoom. In the interest of being succinct, I will say I will make sure that we follow up with you. And so thank you so much for asking.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
You do the same. Again, great to see you.
Bruce, I'm sorry. As I told Vicky, we're gonna move on from here because we do have others. And thank you so much. I think that's a really good place to end on because we are so advocacy oriented on this side of the island, as you know. So thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you soon. Two of our board members have questions. I'm going to ask them to, we're going to share your email with them, if you don't mind, and Andrews, and ask them to follow up directly with a copy of the board so we can then share the responses afterwards.
Excellent. Okay? Thank you. Everyone have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Assemblymember Fall.
So where is the email? Just because I...
Bruce, chill out and you'll get it. And we'll drop it in the chat. Okay? All right. So I believe Assemblymember Fall's Chief of Staff is with us. Yes?
This is Viola Emanuel. I am the Deputy Chief of Staff for Assemblyman Charles Fall.
Welcome to Manhattan Community Board 1. And for
Thank
those
you.
who do not realize, this is Assembly District 61. So thank you and welcome.
Yes. So as some of you are aware, the assembly lines are being redrawn. I believe as of next year, they go into place. So Assemblyman Charles Fall, who's in charge of the 61st District, will soon be in charge of Battery Parkway, and I believe the Battery Parkway area, and I believe some of the financial district as well. So this being my first community board meeting for Manhattan, we just wanted to kind of reach out and get in contact with community board members, obviously, and as well as constituents in the area. We understand that the current issues that you guys are facing are related to housing affordability. And as some of you already know, who are in the coalitions, you've been in touch with our Chief of Staff, Brian Early, up in Albany, discussing plans going forward. So yeah, this was more of just an introduction to introduce myself, and I look forward to working with you all.
I don't know who's unmuted, but let's make sure that we mute everybody who's not speaking. And thank you very much for joining us. I think the best thing would also be to touch base with Lucian Reynolds, and he can give you some more detailed information from our office to catch up on. Alrighty?
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Perfect. Alrighty. Thank you so very much. And let's move on from there. Council Member Martes, Max Deutsch is with us. Max, did I kill you or are you still with us?
Thanks for raising your hand, Max.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Max.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, great. Yeah, don't worry. I'm still here. So yeah, good to see you all. We have a lot of updates, so I'll try and go quick. Really exciting. We've introduced our first legislation this past couple weeks. Last week, the council member introduced, along with the borough president, support for 9/11 survivors. Basically, a lot of support programs for 9/11 survivors have really focused only on the residents and workers downtown, but people who have gone kind of unnoticed are the students, the teachers, school staff, who were kind of told to go back to schools downtown a week after 9/11, when we know the effects lasted long after that, and so there's really been no tracking them. So this legislation is going to have the Department of Education keep track of who is in school, then see if they have any medical issues, make sure that they get the support they need. Second piece of legislation is really exciting. As any of you who followed us in the campaign know, the council member has been a fierce advocate for home attendance rights and their patients. So he finally introduced legislation to end the inhumane 24-hour workday. So we're really hoping that they'll be going to hearing next month, and can pass that into the legislation as soon as possible. And third piece of legislation that will be introduced this coming Thursday will be to have the Department of Transportation put up bilingual street signs in Chinatown and create a larger citywide program for bilingual street signs in immigrant communities that council members will be able to kind of request bilingual street signs in their neighborhoods. After that, we have very exciting participatory budgeting winners. First, thank you everyone who voted, if you shared information about it, if you supported it. We got over 1,600 votes, which from what I understand is more than most other districts who did, PB. So again, our districts were winning. And so some of the winners, we have modernizing the libraries for PS42 with a new digital catalog and new furniture. We've purchasing new science cards for PS124 to be filled with tools and supplies for lab experiments. And then for CB1, we've upgraded the common space for students at Lower Manhattan Community Middle School to create a better learning environment. This is one in CB1, I believe, on Broadway. And then other updates we've had, you might have heard, unfortunately, there was a fire on Mulberry Street, and we've been working with the tenants who have been displaced. And kind of the main thing we're asking is, we have a whole building's worth, families, people who've been displaced. We're trying to getting them temporary housing. But if you or someone has, access to some, temporary apartments, a landlord who has vacancies, please let us know. We're trying to figure out how to get people in apartments. And then lastly, we very exciting also, we are co-sponsoring with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene a RAD Academy for the district. This was started by a number of Tribeca residents, CB1 residents. I believe Richard, who's here, was part of that, who came to us and said they wanted to, to get together and, fight the rat problem. So this is how we can do it. It'll be next Friday, May 6th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be sending out a flyer with more information, but if you want to come learn all about rat prevention methods from experts, you can email district1@council.nyc.org. I can put it in the chat and to register, and we can send you the registration link. So I think that's it. And yeah, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Max. I've got two hands up, one from Justine, Mariama, and Wendy. Yes, we type your stuff into the chat, so we'll share it back, especially for the rat crap. Justine, Mariama, Wendy, in that order.
Thank you so much. And thanks for being here on behalf of Chris Marte. It's interesting to hear what you're talking about the survivors and support for the 9/11 student survivors who were students and teachers. What outreach can your office do to call the students in? Because it's been, I think, a bit of the issue has been for the World Trade Center Health Program and other agencies that are associated with the trying to get the students in and calling them in has been reaching them and getting them to get engaged. And I think that you guys have done a great job engaging young people. So is there anything in particular you would be doing or having ideas about, or we can get involved with to help support that?
Max, that's for you.
Sorry, I muted myself and couldn't get unmuted. But yes, to answer that, I think from what I understand from the legislation, it's going to be kind of, I think, making it a DOE program. So I think DOE is going to be the ones who's going to create kind of the outreach. But yeah, I can get back to you and figure out, what our office is, what our involvement will be in that process.
That would be great. I would love to help you work on that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Yes, I wanted to talk about the same thing, actually, just to first, as a member of the Survivor Steering Committee, thank you, because we've been working on that for decades, honestly, trying to get records for the children and to maintain them so that, God forbid, if and when these children become sick, because the bill is 99 years long, they become sick as adults or seniors, they'll still be able to access records and prove their presence. Because if you cannot prove your presence in the area, you will not get the health or the compensation. You will get nothing. And so it's been a huge problem. So I want to thank you tremendously for that. And also advise you, if you're not aware already, that Congressman Nadler's office, additionally, and through Hannah Wienerman, we've also been working for a couple of years on trying to see if we can get some records maybe maintained by the IRS or other maybe landlords, other large establishments for adults, whether they lived here or lived somewhere else, worked here, went to school, and all of that, because information is being lost, particularly after the pandemic. People moved, people went out of business, companies that you may have worked for, gone, schools gone, and there's no way to recreate this information for people to prove their presence. Thanks.
Why don't we set up a time that Justine, you, Max, and a whole group get together so you can go through this in detail and depth, and hopefully be able to point to ways, because you have an enormous amount of experience on this. We've advocated for this board for 20 some odd years on this topic almost. So let's take this offline so we
Yeah.
can make sure that we can set
I can
them
do that
on
though.
this path.
Yeah, let's follow up. That's great. Great
That's
idea.
great, Tammy. Thank you.
My pleasure. Wendy, you're next.
Yeah, it was the same topic. I actually just wanted to make the point that my daughter, who was not a year old, she was a baby, but she was not a year old, who is now 21 years old, is just gotten sick, and we are just starting that process. So I just want to remind everyone that's working on this that my child is 21 years old now. She was not a year old when 9/11 happened. So getting in touch with everyone who was in school is going to be a daunting prospect because my daughter is graduating from college right now. So I just want that to sink in that she was a baby and she's graduating from college right now and she is sick and we're dealing with that. So everyone who was in the school system, that you have to work on that. It's going to be incredibly difficult and lots of brainstorming will need to be taking place. But the other thing I'm going to ask is, can you get in touch with the pediatricians that were in the area? Can you get in touch with the preschools that were in the area? Because they're also missing.
We're going to put you on this lovely group.
Yeah, these are great ideas. I'll
Perfect.
also
Just-
get
you
our
just
legislative
agreed
director
on
who
the spot.
has been working on the
Yeah,
law.
perfect. I'd be happy to help.
Perfect.
Great.
All righty. Thank you very much. And thank you for bringing that topic to us. And we will see you next month. We're going to recognize our, and I apologize if I kill the name, Lingwen Chen, who's here from Manhattan District Attorney Bragg's office. If we haven't killed you by being such a long session. See if we can find you. Oh, there you are, and your hand is raised. How fantastic!
Free to speak.
Hi, this is Lin
Hi.
Jing Chen. Hi, this is Lin Jing Chen from Manhattan District Attorney's Office. This is my first CB1 meeting. I'm happy to be here, and I just have one quick update. DA Bragg has announced the indictment of Stephen Zhang, 28, for assaulting 7 Asian women on the east side of Manhattan between Houston and East 30th Street on February 27th. Zhang is charged with 6 felony counts of assault in the 3rd degree as a hate crime and 7 counts of aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, a misdemeanor hate crime. And DA Bragg has also announced the office's plan to expand its hate crime unit to combat bias-driven crimes across the borough. And I do want to emphasize here that we have a hate crime unit hotline, which is 212-335-3100. And people who call this number can speak whatever language they feel comfortable with. And we can have someone who speaks their language to call them back. Thank you. That's all I have for today.
Would you do me a favor, please? Thank you so much for coming. We welcome you to Community Board 1. Would you send that information to the host and we can post it in the chat?
Yes, for sure.
With materials and links?
Yes.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
You're welcome to come back anytime.
Mhm.
All righty. With that, I do not believe we have any other elected officials. Let's get back to the agenda. Can I get the agenda up, folks? Fantastic. Now, remember, if you were not here and did not have the chance to vote yes for attendance, when we do the next vote, even if it's a call out for yays, nays, and whatever, you must identify yourself and your vote so we have you on the report for the record. With that, that'll be after we get to the first committee. Mariana, Treasurer's report, you're up next.
Thank you. Lucy, can you put it up? I actually, right before I signed into the meeting, I just walked in from taking my daughter to
Lynn has the
COVID tested.
PowerPoint. She'll take care of it. Give her a
Thank you
minute.
so much.
You're up, Mariana. It's live. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So everybody should have received a copy also in your email of the budget here, but we remain on track to finish the year end in June in the black, or in July rather, the fiscal year end is in June, In July, we'll be reporting that we should still be in the black. I believe it was around $70,000 from the last time I looked at it. Any questions? Comments about the budget? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mariama. District Manager's Report. Lucian, take it away.
Thanks, Tammy. All righty, so greetings, everyone. I'm Lucian Reynolds. I'm the District Manager of Manhattan Community Board 1. Honored to be here. This month, I worked with CB1 members and Neighbors United Below Canal members to organize a walk through the Manhattan Detention Complex dismantling site, as well as the planned Sallyport construction site. The walkthrough attendees generated lots of great questions and comments for DDC to address at the following Quality of Life Committee meeting, and the office was very pleased with the process. We are looking forward to making these walkthroughs a regular occurrence ahead of DDC's attendance at future Quality of Life meetings, so we can have a full accounting of the project without any needing to circle back later. The organizers of the 5-borough bike tour called me to let me know that the mayor and the DOT commissioner will now be speaking before the first wave group departs. They tell me that the mayor's office requires additional speakers outside of what we limited them to at our transportation committee. They said the speakers would only be turned on for the remarks portion and would not play music or any other announcements. They agreed to try to have them turned off before and after the mayor and the DOT commissioner speak. So those are the only sounds that come out of the speaker. So we're going to try our best to hold them to that, but it's something that is a little bit outside of their planning. With that, Tammy, I hand it back to you.
Fantastic. Seeing no hands up for questions for you, let's rock and roll. Next slide. First of all, happy spring, everybody. I want to say happy holidays if you didn't see my note for anyone who does celebrate. If not, hopefully people have at least been able to get out and enjoy the couple warm days that we've had. It's been a normally robust month, even though it's been the holidays. So we had 5 World Trade Center working group. I did attend the Church Street fundraiser that honored the co-founder and retiring Dr. Lisa Eklund Flores, and also honored our own Tom Goodcombe. So that was quite a lovely evening. We have the First Precinct Community Council, and I testified at PDC along with Diana and Alice regarding not only Fearless Girl, but the Sallyport and the art around the borough-based jails. So I will say that we will have a full presentation for what the city has redesigned that the public has not seen yet, that was only sent to leadership. We'll send it out early, so if you're interested in the topic, please go to land use next month so you can opine, and we will do a follow-up to PDC on that. Please join the Hudson River Park Advisory Council meetings if you have any interest in that. They are open to the public. And we have Borough Board, as you heard, and then we got a Governor's Island update. The update that we got, many people perhaps have seen in the press, is that the 4 finalists RFP is now out. And the Governor's Trust for Governor's Island approached us to set up a timetable for public input, which I cannot say thank you enough for their outreach to be proactive. So instead of chasing behind, we're going to work on setting up series of meetings as a baseline going forward so we can coordinate, which is incredible. Next slide. All righty. In the works, we're waiting, obviously, Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan, a major thing. What our open space and our timelines are. I mean, it cannot be said enough how concerned that we are in Community Board 1 that we won't have access to most of our parks and waterfront that are by the water for the next 2 years. Congestion pricing panel information, which again, a little bit of a black box with no information. I will say I did receive an email just before this meeting that came from DSS, which many people have heard that the Radisson is no longer going to be a shelter. So what I am updating you, we have not had yet, but I will share this with the full board right after the meeting, that they are indeed at the end of June ending their contract with that hotel, and that in keeping with the city's trajectory of recovery from the pandemic and assessing current capacity needs as it relates to COVID-19 supporting, they're phasing out the site over the coming months, and as always, health and safety of their clients remain as a top priority. We have already asked them to, for some metrics, as well as I know that our city council member Marte has as well, so we can understand, because the most important goal is that people find permanent housing and they're not shuffled around. So I will forward you the note, and there is also a final line in here that says DSS DHS does not have any intentions on utilizing this hotel for a shelter going forward. All right, looking ahead, there is a Build the Block sector meeting for the first precinct, which is tomorrow, and there is also a Chinatown stakeholders meeting at 10 a.m. and on the 28th, as well as our downtown cannabis forum update, which is at 7 o'clock. I seriously hope that everybody jumps in and attends. The tickets and the link are there. We'll drop them in the chat. Our own Mariana James is going to represent CB1 here with our partnership with the Borough President's Office and CB2 and 4. So I think that's it for me. If anybody has any questions, certainly let me know. And I hope to see everybody at any of these lovely meetings coming up. With that, I close my chair report, and let's move straight into exec. And the request for the Traffic Mobility Review Board, compliance to open meeting laws. Again, much as I said right before, this is an easy one. We've talked about open meeting laws, so I'm not going to do it again. We did have a conversation about protocol for the cannabis retail applications, and congratulations to the licensing committee. It was determined that it really is a licensing type of an application with the rules that apply. So when those come to service, that will go to licensing and be organized much like all the liquor licenses are. Okay, and with that, let's, can I get a call to question for the traffic mobility review?
Question.
Thank you, Susan.
Second.
And I'm sorry, Francis had a hand up. I think I went quickly. I know it was seconded. Francis, did you have a comment before I continued?
No.
Okay, good.
No, just a tear.
Me too, for Francis.
I hear you.
See, Suze, that's what you get.
I know.
All righty, so it's been called, it's been seconded. Mimi, take us away for our traffic mobility review compliance with open meeting laws.
Sure. There's a few people that missed the first vote that are here now. So I will need you all to vote audibly for the record.
You want
if
to
you could
call
do
them?
that would be awesome. I might have lost track. More, I know that you're here, Pat.
And I vote yes.
Alrighty, thank you. And then there is
Sorry.
Airman. Yeah, Airman, you're fresh and new here now.
Airman votes yes.
All right, thank you so much. And Trisha Joyce appears to be here now.
She votes yes.
Awesome, thank you. And anybody that I have missed?
McHugh votes yes.
All righty, glad you're here, thank you.
Forsberg votes yes. Sorry about that.
Awesome, thank you so much for reaching out.
And Chelsea votes yes.
Oh, hey, awesome. All right.
Patrick Cannell's over in attendees. He dropped off and went out, so we just need to move him back over, please.
Okay.
Let's see him over in attendees. Yeah. We have everybody else.
Okay. Is Collie on? Bernard Lynn? No. All right. Okay, so is anyone opposed? Do you have any abstentions or recusals? All right, we're done here. Thanks.
Fantastic. I love a unanimous vote. All righty. I don't think we have anything else other than there are the resiliency pre-construction tours. We have sent those out. I highly cannot encourage people enough to go take a look at that. And as soon as we have a finalized information on the updates of the models, for the location and the hours of availability, we will send those as well. There's a major chunk of change in our community that goes from the Jewish Heritage Museum in Battery Park City all the way along Battery Place, full change in Wagner, across Pier A Plaza, and across the full top of the Battery. So that's that. With that, I close my chair report. I see no hands, so thank you so much. Let's keep going.
Tammy, can you just tell people that they can sign up for the walk? There's one on Thursday. The last one's on Thursday.
There you go. You heard it from Justine. And if
There
you
you
have
go.
any questions, the office has the information. We've sent it out, and I think it's posted even on Facebook and Twitter. Susan Cole, take us away.
Oh, I can't believe I'm first. So first of all, I'd just like to say to everybody that it's beginning spring and summer. And when there are complaints with late nights or people not paying attention, please call 311. Please get a number. Please call the community board. It's very important that we hear any complaints that way, and that we can then take it to licensing, and we have some clout. And we can also write to the SLA. That being said, all of our resolutions, I think we'll take them by area. Luckily, we have no contentious ones this month. I can't say that for every month. So the Tribeca, we have 90 chambers. We have 105 Hudson and 11 Varick. You've all had those in your reports, the resolutions. Do we want me to take them all in one fell swoop? Or shall we do it by area, Tammy?
I usually like to do it by area, so
Yeah, me too. So this is for the Tribeca. We had some renewals. We had no trouble with them. So can I hear a motion as a second, and we can vote on it?
Motion.
Thank you.
Seeing no hands, Mimi, take us away.
Sorry. So the Tribeca locations, which address numbers are those, please?
All of them
They're
together.
all of them, 90
area.
chambers, 105 Hudson, and 11 Varick. They're all in the agenda. Mimi.
Yes.
We're taking the 3 at once.
3 at once. Got it. Okay, cool. I see it on the screen now. Got it. All right. Is anybody opposed?
Mark has his hand up. I am not sure if he can't unmute himself, what his vote is. I'll wait for him to
I'm
unvote.
just waiting for the vote to end to make a comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Any abstentions? Any recusals? All right. Thank you.
Okay. I reported this to the committee, the Quality of Life Committee as well. We work at 53 Beach Street as installed beer taps. We checked, office checked, they don't have any kind of licensing for this. Reported it to the police liaison at the Quality of Life Committee. So just a quick update on that. That was the place of the near riot in the summer where they had overran the street. So just FYI, it's on the record here, and we're following up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
So
Okay.
I forgot to introduce myself as the chair of licensing, and Francis Curtis and Mark Amoruso are my vice chairs. And everybody does a very good job on our committee. All right, financial district. We have 28 Liberty, 50 Trinity, 11 Hanover, and 85 Broad. I would just like to say that we have approved 11 Hanover with reduced hours. Although I may want to write a letter to the SLA because they've been having parties at night, and I guess they rent out the space and have it monitoring it very well. But we did not give them the hours they requested, and I'm not sorry we didn't. So anyway, this is the 4 we have, and we try to do our stipulations as tight as we can. So I need a second.
First, we'll see if you have any questions, because.
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Any questions?
Seeing none, let's call the question. There
Thank
we
you.
go. Perfect. Amy, take us away.
All right, for 28 Liberty, 50 Trinity, and 11 Hanover.
Wait a minute. I had one question, Susan. Is 28 Liberty upstairs? It's at
Yes.
the top of the building?
Yes.
Sorry.
It is.
And 85 Broad. Is anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Any recusals? All right, we're so in agreement tonight.
Okay. Next
And the last is the Battery Park City area, which is 102 North End, for the Regal Battery movie theater. They want to sell wine and beer and cider. And there were some questions about it, and we did approve it, and you can see it. But one of the concerns was, how do we know? You go up, you sign your license, you show your license and you take it to your seat. There's no control. It's really up to the movie theater to be in control of it, and they assured us they would be. So there you are.
There are two hands up. I'm not sure if Alice's is still up, so I'm going to wait and come back to her. But Justine?
Just a quick question. This is obviously a new application, right?
Correct.
And they're going to come back to us in a year or 6 months or something like you guys usually do?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other hands, let's call the question.
Call the question. Oh, second.
Second, or whatever you have, second.
All right, so for 102 North End, do we have anybody that opposes it? Any abstentions or recusals? Cool, thanks.
Thank you, everyone. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Susan.
And I don't look forward to our new task, Tammy.
Listen,
Additional.
co-chair. Talk to your co-chair. She was at the executive committee meeting.
Yeah, right.
Susan, you
After
never let us
everybody
down.
After everybody opined and said, I think that's the only place it should go. Nobody else was raising their hand to take it.
Oh, I know. All right.
Listen,
Take care.
as long as we do everything in the same considerate manner as we do, we are very fair. We really are business friendly when it comes to licensing, and I think we kind of keep going.
I think we do, but I really will say that I think that it's very disappointing at times that people say X and do Y, and that's why I stress that if there is a problem, you report it to 311, and then you let us know at the community board. That's one of the only ways we can deal with everything. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Justine. Since it's a report, you have no more than 5 minutes.
I don't think I need that long, particularly. Thank you. So my name is Justine Kucha, Chair of the Battery Park City Committee, and my lovely committee and I got together and we talked about the West Thames Dog Street Dog Run. That was a contentious bit of information, and the only thing I want to say about the dog run is that it harkens back to a time when there was a real conflict between the dog owners and the parents and the people without dogs. So I'm seeing this happening more, and I will report back as to what's going on. But in Battery Park City, I'm seeing more confrontations and more aggravation on social media about whether it's dog waste that's not being picked up, or quality of dog runs, or more dog runs, a whole bunch of stuff. So that's the report there, is that there's contention. And also some requests to open up the grass, to have them open to dogs at all hours and all times, which, yeah. Other thing we spoke about, which was also a bit of contention, was the South End Avenue, the South Battery Park City street closures and resiliency. And we're glad that what came out of that was the 2 walkthroughs. So one was last past Saturday. The next one is on Thursday. You can sign up on the Battery Park City Authority website. I think we have links to it in the monthly, the bulletin we put out. I would encourage people to sign up. If you walk along the Esplanade, you'll notice a few of the signs light posts are painted blue. And I should have come with prepared, but I'm not going to. They're just painted blue to show how high the water will rise in a 100-year or 500-year storm. And it's pretty disturbing because we're talking 11 feet, 12 feet, well above everybody's head. And they have that painted on the Esplanade right there. What they're saying is, and what they said clearly on the walkthrough was they're not looking to build the Esplanade out to that height, but they're looking to build protections as you go in from the water to try to do their best to preserve access to the water and views. So lots of contentions and arguments and discussions about what should and shouldn't be done. Even raised on the walk were questions as to whether we should be building to a 500-year storm or we should be building to a 10-year storm. And we're back to those questions again, too. So it was very interesting. The Battery Park City Authority gave a very rudimentary discussion about their bonds and their bonding. Short answer is they're taking out more bonds. Yeah, it's sort of becoming a bit of an issue as we're trying to negotiate, on the other hand, the reduction of the ground rent. But other than that, that's kind of it. We had security updates and, of course, the report, but everything about that in terms of the park operations and the different operations, you all can see online. So that's great. And thank you. I think I kept it under 5 minutes, Tammy.
Susan Cole, your hand is up.
I would suggest that everybody walk over and look at those lampposts.
They're disturbing.
They are. I went today before the meeting and I was totally done in, if you must know.
Yeah.
And I, as I said to my walking companion, Jeff Ehrlich, oh God, I said, the Army Corps of Engineers, he said it's better than the city, probably. So
what I will tell you is it's better than the city.
I know Alice has worked very hard on this, but it's really, it's something everybody should go look at.
They should go look at it and go on the tour, because
I wish I could. I can't, but I wish I could. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. I see Vicky.
Vicky
and Bruce. When you say 1 in 500 years, that means one event possibly taking place in 500 years from today.
Yes.
It's also a bit of a show, right? 500 years from now.
Yes, some people were making those comments on the walkthrough to say, they're doing it to be kind of fearmongers to justify the destruction of the building.
Right. If we're better stewards, then obviously this will never happen.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
For better stewards, I like it. But yeah, it's a bit of that. But then the other side of the coin is they are protecting us, right? So it's a balance. So I just encourage people to educate yourselves, because Alex has done the work and you guys
7 and 8. Sound good?
Bruce and then Colin.
Hi, just in walking along the Esplanade, I see all kinds of strange things, and I'm getting context now. I cannot be on the walk on Thursday, but is there any? Well, actually, maybe I should just call you directly so you could.
Yeah,
fill
call me directly. I can give you paperwork.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Bruce, that was efficient. I love that. Colin?
Just fill in here that Bruce and anybody who's interested, in addition to the walk, we've been looking at this for 4 years, and there is an immense amount of very clear information on the Battery Park City website. And all you have to do is tap into their South Battery Park resiliency plans, and they do demonstrate all of what's coming down the pike. By the way, it's a 1 in 100 years, I think, flood, not 1 in 500 years.
Is that what the blue signs are for, though?
Yep.
I think, yeah, okay.
Yes, they said it was 1 in 100 years.
That's a little better, because before we
yeah,
were
there you
talking
go.
about, Dante had just died and Michelangelo wasn't born yet. So now it makes a little more sense.
Yes, thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bruce, Colin, and then Jeff Galloway.
Yeah, I was trying not to talk at all tonight, but just to be clear, they're not saying these storms are going to happen once every 100 or 500 years. The point is these storms used to happen once every 100 years, and now they're happening way more often. So it is an inevitability that most of Battery Park City will be underwater, just so we're super clear about that. But when you guys hear me talk about peaker plants and projects on Governor's Island instead of like massive development, I'm in the prevention of climate change business. This is all I do every day. And we're trying to stop this from happening. So this is more self-promoting than anything else. When you hear me whine to the people about Governor's Island about how about we actually build more efficiency, more energy centralized or decentralized programs, more grid sensitive programming. We put peaker plants on Governor's Island instead of malls, instead of hotels. This is what I'm talking about. We can do all the resiliency projects we want, but forget about flooding downtown. We're not going to have access to fresh water or food in 30 years. So that's my grandstand, but it's not a storm every 100 years. It's a storm that used to be every 100 years and is going to happen essentially every other year now. So just so we're clear on that.
Yeah, right. That's the whole point, is they're building for it, but it's not. You're exactly right, Colin. 100%.
Okay. Colin, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you on those Governor Island meetings. Jeff Galloway.
Nice.
Just following up on what Colin just said, the concept of a 100-year storm, even if it is supposedly the 100-year, doesn't mean it's going to happen once in 100 years. It means that in any given year, there is a 1% chance that it could happen. And it could actually happen, at any time. So you're not talking about waiting for 100 years for something to happen. Any given year is 1% chance it could happen. Compounding that is, and which is independently of the storm cycle, is sea level rise. The projections there's a lot of speculation as to the projections there, but what Battery Park City's resiliency is being designed to is only 2050. And you see how high and how drastic those interventions need to be just to get us to the 2050 projections. The rest of Lower Manhattan is being designed to 2100, but not Battery Park City. So one can argue with the particular projections, are they accurate or not? But I wouldn't say that it's overly conservative to say we're going to do this just to protect us to 2050. If they wanted to protect us to 2100, the interventions would be much more severe than what we're seeing.
That makes sense, Jeff. And that's what we've heard all along, whether it's in our committee or analysis committee. So, yeah.
All right. Any other hands? Jeff, if you don't mind taking yours down. Justine, thank you so much. And thank you for continuing to make sure that everyone's engaged. And I hope people have the opportunity to do the walkthrough Thursday. If you need any other detailed information, please reach Alice or Justine directly. Thanks so much. And let's go to the next committee. Jason Friedman.
Hi, guys. How are you? Do you hear me?
Loud and clear, and welcome. Thank you for
Okay, so we had one, I'm Jason Friedman, the chair of the Landmarks Committee, and Vicky, I see, is here, I think. She's the co-chair. And we had one application for some restorative work at 90 West Street, where the building owner of this Cass Gilbert Beauty wants to replace the 5 balcony railings that we see there with a non-original material, like some sort of a sheet metal or something not cast iron as it originally was.
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass. And so we wrote a resolution that recommends that no substitute is okay, except using cast iron again. And I think that was generally the feeling of everybody in the room, on the committee. And this is a picture of actually what failed already since 2001, which was a replacement of some sort of sheet metal with a skeleton under it that has now cracked, and that's why they're in front of us. Again, today, we feel like if this was done and molded out of cast iron, this cracking problem wouldn't occur, and it would be a benefit to this building for the original material to be back in place. So that was that one, and then Roger wrote a nice resolution, and I don't know if Roger wanted to speak at all on his resolution, which was asking for the Landmarks Commission to, consider freshening up their commission, most of which people are nearly in completion of their three-year terms and have been there for many of them for over a decade. So that was it.
Let's see if we've got any questions for you, Jason. I see 2 hands up. Again, questions. It don't need to.
Bruce, please go.
Bruce and then Betty. Bruce? Oh no, where'd Bruce go?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. You're up.
Sorry, I just want to say that thanks for the work you did on West Street. That building was a noble survivor of the attacks on 9/11. It took an enormous amount of time, care, money, and love to keep it together and not plow it under, and accept no substitution.
Thank you, Bruce. Betty Kay, you're next.
Thanks. I just want to say that actually it's for both of these resolutions. Neither of them do the whereas set you up for what is said. They're very confusing to read, and they don't support at all, or they're not in agreement with what you've just reported. So you probably want to really change your whereas statements because they're not sufficient at all for backing up what you want to do. And in fact, on the second one, where you say that you want to just plain put people on the Landmarks Committee, I may be okay with that, but I don't know why, because the whereases don't support it. It also says we don't really care if you continue to appoint people already on, or if you appoint new people. Do you really mean you don't care who's appointed? Because it just sounded like what you said was that there needs to be some turnover, and you have certain criteria you'd like to see in the people selected. This resolution does not say that.
Well, I didn't write it, so if Roger, you're on, you want to respond. Otherwise, I guess we could table it and get more input from Roger or the team.
Well,
we didn't write this.
Jason, let's look at it this way. Betty, do you have a friendly amendment to make this clearer or cleaner? And if so, please present it. And if it fits with what was discussed in committee, then Vicky and Jason can take can say, yes, this meets, this matches, and we can move it forward. If not, then yes, it should be tabled or rescinded. I think tabled is the right word, to go back to committee for next month.
I think that's a mixed bag. On the first one, they're stating that they agree with what they have for the therefore be it resolved, which was what was voted on. What I'm saying in that case is the whereases do not in any way support. That is the conclusion. And so that could be done after a vote here, but really would need to be done, or the reader is going to be like me and say, they just pulled this out of a hat and just stuck this here, and I have no idea why.
No aspersions on what people may think or not, either what specific language you're recommending. So if you're saying, for example, CB1 recommends that the mayor urgently appoint commissioners to fill the expired terms by replacing them with new commissioners or reappointing with those in office. That's a friendly clarification.
I know exactly what that is. What I'm saying is with the first one, the resolution, the statement of resolve, I would not necessarily change because that is in agreement with what Jason just said. But the whereas statements do not in any way support it. So you may want to look at that to strengthen the resolution for the reader. For the second one, what he said was, and even what is hinted at in the whereas, is that you want some changes in who the commissioners are, some new blood or some new criteria. This says you don't really care who's appointed, just appoint somebody. And then it's set up with saying, we don't even know who is expiring and who isn't expiring, then why are we calling to get new people appointed? So I think the second one really should be re-looked at versus voted on, tabled or withdrawn.
Vicky and Jason?
I have to say that Betty's absolutely right.
What would you like to do?
I'll follow up with, I'd love to have Betty at our committee meeting, speaking to Roger, who penned this, and let's come up with something, because I think there's an
Perfect.
air in the room, at least at committee level, that, things are stale there, and I'm not a wordsmith like Roger or Betty, and I think that there could be a positive resolution coming out of more talk. Tonight's not the night for that. There's no urgency. Let's take it back to committee, invite anybody who wants change to stale and old kind of committees that just sit around in our city for over a decade, and then let's just come back next month.
Perfect. Okay.
Betty, please do come. It's important because I've spoken to Roger, and you're right. There are, sort of dual issues. Who is there? Who has expired? Why are they still there if they're expired? Are they looking after their position? We definitely need new blood. You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for catching this. Please
I see
join us,
Mark.
help us.
Yeah.
I'll look at that and I'll contact Roger too.
Thank you. That would be great. Thank you, Betty.
Perfect.
Mark, you weren't there, but I know you have something to say about this, so
Real
maybe you
quick,
could say it a few
I
times.
think it should be noted, the bureaucrats in the last number of years have gotten a lot worse to where they forget that they work for the people that pay their the people that pay taxes and that pay their salary.
Yeah.
And I think this commissioners are a perfect example of that they basically are in the pockets of special interest.
Hold on. Let's.
So my friendly amendment, well, such thing as a friendly amendment. My amendment would be is to mention something. At the end of the day, the commissioners are ultimately accountable to the taxpayers.
Mark, we will take those notes, but it's going back to committee. It's not being voted on tonight. So
I missed that. All right, so
Mark,
can you
come to the
note
next
that?
committee meeting, please.
Yep.
We know this for years. Yeah, we know this for years.
And please, if you can, go to the landmarks meeting in May.
Yes, please,
Thank you.
Mark. Come
Please,
and
Mark,
join
we
us.
need you. We absolutely
Yes.
need you.
Yeah,
We're desperate.
join us.
Vicky is
All right,
desperately
I'll be
needing
there.
you.
What date is it, by the way? You want to announce it now?
You have to do your own diligence on that, Mark. Sorry.
Calendar.
Check the internet.
Office would know. All right.
All right. Do we have any other?
May 12th.
Thank you.
All right. So the resolution, we've done 1 out of 2. And I think, are you good then? Do we have any others for you, Jason?
I am great. I'm not good. I'm great.
Love that. Awesome. So let's move to the next committee. And I believe I think we may be on the frozen side over there. So let's just see if I can pull that up.
Tammy, I'm back. What do you need?
Who's next? Next committee.
Transportation.
You got it. Sorry about that. I froze up, but I'm back and you're ready to go, Betty.
What I'm going to try to do is put this I have 7 resolutions, well, transportation does. There are 6 of them I'm going to try to take together because they were pretty non-contentious in committee. So let's see how that goes. But the civilian enforcement, although it's listed number 1 here, is the one I'm going to do separately at the end. So if you want to keep track of them, if you go to the next slide, I'm going to walk you through each of the resolutions to remind people.
Hold on. For Mimi, go back 1. So she knows exactly which ones because she's got to line them up. Funding for DOT master plan, the integration of the bus, the street event for the American Heart Association, the water.
All the street events.
All the street events are going to go together. Mimi, you got that? I'll assume that's a yes. She's
so it's like everything but
civilian enforcement.
Okay, perfect. That makes sense.
Okay, but now go ahead, Betty. Thank you.
Okay. The first one is about integration of an NYU shuttle bus service at an already existing authorized stop. And just to show people kind of what a non-issue this is, the next slide. Just so you can see the actual location, if you look by this little white car over on the right, you'll see there's a bus stop sign right there. This car is actually parked illegally in a bus stop. It is already there for big bus. What DOT is doing is putting some of these others that stop anyway in what is already a bus stop for a private group. So if you could, so this is where the location looks like. The next. So you can see NYU already lists this route on their website. You'll see it, and it's at 80 Lafayette Street. So there's no real change in the number of buses, shuttle buses that are stopping. So there's no real change in anything. The bus stop's not new, the parking's not changed, the traffic to stop there isn't changed. That's the NYU bus stop, shuttle bus stop. Second resolution. Oh, we're going to move to the street activity permit requests. And the next one. This was for the Washington Market School for their street fair on May the 7th. And as you can see, they're closed. They want to close Duane Street between Greenwich and Hudson Street. It is in the morning, and they do account for both a setup time and a cleanup time. You go to the next slide, because I want to point this out, because people will be concerned about it. The Friends of Duane Park, because this would be occurring on their block and around Duane Park. They are in fact holding an event on the same day, on the same block. The two groups are working together. And so in fact, Washington Market School has moved around some of their tables and activities to better accommodate and not be in the way of Duane Park, Friend of Duane Park, and vice versa. So they are working together very productively. Hence the resolution talks about it's okay, especially if they need to continue, contingent upon them continuing to work together, since it is the same day. In the absence of hands, I'll move on to the next one, the 5 borough. And this is to show you, where the lineups are, because there are different starting times. And as Lucian already told you, this red group, that is where the little star is where the microphones are, and then they go down past where the red marking area is. That's where the mayor and the DOT commissioner will be doing their remarks with some loudspeakers, just for the duration of those remarks at the beginning.
Betty,
the other areas won't.
You do need to do that as a friendly note, because that was not discussed. I don't know if you, I assume.
Need a whereas.
I assume you know this, that what has to go in is what we have to highlight for the public, because it wasn't discussed in committee, was the extra speaker that the mayor's office has requested. Which,
right, there will have to be an addition of a whereas statement.
Correct. Do you want to go over that now?
You pretty much just said what it is. There are going to be speakers that go down to Duane Street, because along Church, because that is a slightly larger area than it was initially already in a whereas statement, and that will be only at the beginning of the race for the duration of the remarks made by the mayor and the commissioner of the DOT, Dennis Rodriguez.
And that is
on Sunday, May 1st. And this is, again, an event. It is the TD Bank is the official sponsor, but actually it is run by the city of New York. So you know how much sway we have over it, hence the speaking. And it is to show off to the world the 5 boroughs. And that's the whole point of this. You can, people participate. It is not a race, it is a tour. You can start at the age of 3. Of course, they're in bike seats. They're not riding tricycles. Just so you know that. Next one, because I think that's all I have for. Oh no, good. They've started to give us some information about when the setups start. So there are some markings being done on the street the day before, starting at midnight on the day of May 1st. That's when the NYPD takes over and starts doing closures and removing parked cars that didn't heed the signs to get out of the way. So for those, this is really a lot in response to requests that we have made as a community board in the past. That's just, so you know, the police, NYPD really controls the street openings and closings. Next one. I think there's one more set of announcements from, yes, that Bike New York has come out with. Again, in response to requests of past resolutions, they've laid out for us where they're intending to do their notifications and when, so to show they're doing them in advance. Also, that there is a hotline that people can contact in real time on the day of. Again, that is in response to past requests, past resolutions. Again, I'm looking for hands. They've been pretty responsive. And the next street activity. This one is the American Heart Association Wall Street Run Walk. And the route, no different than previous years. Again, they had to take 2 years off because of COVID, so you haven't seen them in a couple of years, but this is no different than it was then. And within the resolution, it is consistent with, you can see after hearing about the Battery Park City resiliency, this whole area from Battery Park and along Battery Park City will be closed as they start the resiliency projects. So included in the resolution is a request that the city and the Battery Park City Authority work on changing the route for the next couple of years minimum while resiliency work is done. So this is going to all be changed again next year. It has to be changed again next year. And next,
Okay,
that's a major fundraiser.
Nope, there are 2 hands up for this one, Betty.
Okay.
3
I didn't
hands up.
see them.
So it's
Let
Justine.
me get Justine, well then Tammy, then Francis.
Actually, I'm going to go first, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, sure.
I approached the first precinct and asked them the question based on the meeting as to who opines on the routes, because this is all the first precinct and we've had troubles.
Yeah.
They told me that anything over 1,000 people goes through 1 PP, and they have not heard anything. They have heard our concerns, but they did agree to try and broker a meeting with Community Board 1 and the organizers, because 1 PP has no idea how unhappy the community is potentially with the routing and everything that goes with this. And what the people who are organizing the race have said was that they were told by the New York by the police department that they can't change the route. So that is new information. We did ask the first precinct to help us out with this, and we are hoping to get a small group from the community board together who will meet with 1 PP to represent some of the concerns and issues we have going forward.
Thank you, because next year, like I said, this is going to have to go to them as well as the next one, because they involve places that are going to be closed construction.
And with that, I pass it on to Justine and then Francis.
Thanks a lot. I'll be quick. I actually had a question. I just raised my hand too slowly. Where is the 100-mile bike tour? Where does it start? Does it start in Battery Park City area or Lower Manhattan, or does it end here, or neither?
Wait, which one?
The one before this, the bike one.
Starts in Tribeca as it always does.
In
I was going to
Tribeca.
say, yeah, we're the beginning of the city, and so we're the beginning of the race.
And does it go up the West Side Highway? I'm so sorry, I missed it. I couldn't see and I couldn't hear.
We'll send you the
Oh,
map.
perfect. Thank you. Sorry, that's just selfishly for me. And then I'll have a question about the next one. But Aunt Tammy, you mentioned what I was going to mention.
Yes, and Francis?
Actually, mine is for 5 and 6, and it's regarding the time. What is the time frame that those 2 events? Well, the race is definitely done in our area. What is the beginning and end time for number 6, and what is the anticipated time for number 5 for
Did you name them?
Number 5 is the 5 bike tour. What is the anticipated time that streets will be opening up again in our neighborhood?
I'd have to go back to the resolution to actually look at it.
And then
Yeah, NYPD controls and.
Right, for 7 is the same question.
Which is 7?
7 is the heart race, the 5K walk multiple sclerosis.
Isn't it the 9/11?
I'm sorry, 6. I'm sorry, 6.
Francis,
American
North
Heart
Street Heart
Association.
Association street closures start anywhere depending on the setup time. They basically
Right.
run from 3:34 till 6, depending on where they are. They open and close streets. That was what was discussed at the meeting.
Right, they try to have somebody walking behind the last person and notifying the police as they cross the street. So the police hopefully will move behind them, reopening things.
Right, I figured that. I just wanted, if you had a time that I could put in my head, that would have been fine. But if I have to read something, I'll go and read it.
I had to go back and look at the resolution,
Okay, all right,
because the hours are in there.
okay.
You know what, Francis? We'll put it up because I'm sure if you're asking, you're not the only. Eric, you're next. Eric, you?
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, I just have a comment on the Fireborough bike tour. I do support it. I think it's a exciting event, but my comment is I'm a little bothered by the high cost in order to get entry to this tour. It's $112, for a single person, or if you want to do the VIP, that's $350, but that's optional. So that's somebody's choice. But they're using city streets and city roads, yet they're charging $112 to use it. So
It's a fundraiser.
yeah, $23 of the 112 is tax deductible, but I just think it's a little expensive. If you want to try to get as many people to participate.
I would love if you would come next time when they present, and you can ask them your concerns and present that. That's not a problem. If you'd like to send an email to the office can share it with the tour organizers, and we can see if we can get some kind of response on that as well.
Thank you, Tammy.
Anybody else? And for those who are looking, the Heart Association hours are now up on the screen, Francis, so that's for you. Francis, go ahead.
Sorry, no, thank you very much.
Looks like it's all the hands.
So,
So if you want to go to the next slide. This one, actually, the 9/11 Memorial Museum occurred on April 24th. So in fact, this one's already over. And again, will be highly impacted by next year by a route being closed for resiliency work. So that is part of the resolution to therefore be resolved. Is this route is also going to have to be renegotiated for next year.
I do want to point out, though, that route does include space at the Trade Center site itself for their post party. And that has been a long ask that this community has stood on, is to be able to use the space that is the closed streets for public use and public purpose to get people off of the streets when they're doing runs and walks, to allow for more access. Because my issue, as you have well heard me say, for the American Heart Association, is it cuts off every MTA bus transit that we have in Lower Manhattan, as well as the Downtown Alliance bus, which thus prevents people from being able to get home and school buses from circulating the neighborhoods. So I think that knowing this and having that information is an extremely important conversation to have, both with the 9/11 Memorial Museum, but also Port Authority and any applicants who come to us looking for our local streets.
Oh, I think actually this is a good opportunity, because next year, like I said, the route's going to have to change pretty dramatically for them. So it's something that the community board should work with them in advance in their planning stages, because they're going to need that.
Okay, keep going.
And next one, because there's one more item to vote with this major, this is the DOT Master Street Plan. If you go to the next slide, so people saying, what is that? This is actually from the DOT website. So you get an idea of the things that are covered in this plan. And I also want to let you know, since the Transportation Committee passed this resolution in committee. There have been a couple of announcements that have come out. One is that City Council made a specific request for $3.1 billion over 5 years, which was $620 million a year to fund this plan. The mayor just came out with his budget, his executive budget, specifying $904 million, but over only 5 years, making it $180.8 million a year, which is pretty positive because the 2019 law, which is what created the Master Streets Plan, actually estimated that they needed 1.7 billion over 10 years, or 170 million. So it looks like both City Council and the mayor are looking at in excess of what was estimated by the legislators when they passed the law in 2019. However, the resolution asks, not knowing these statements were going to occur after we voted on it, but also that the DOT set aside the money specifically for the streets plans when they get it versus using it for all kinds of things. Because this also creates a lot of pedestrian space, which is very exciting. In fact, it's 1 million square feet over 2 years. So if there are no questions.
Betty, I have my
Mitch
hand up
Froman,
from
yes, sorry, yes.
previous. Maybe either you or Tammy could help me. I know I was at the
Sure.
meeting, but because my personal work schedule changed, for
That's
the
not a
bike,
question.
yes, for the bike race that's going, up Church. Do you know around the night before? You said it around. They're going to be closing the streets around 3 o'clock in the morning. Is that correct?
Could you go back to the slide? I don't remember the exact.
I'm sorry, Betty. I just realized it. The bike race on Sunday, May 1st. I'm just kind of would like to know
Yeah, no, I'm
around
asking
when
for the slide to be updated to show you that page.
I
So that
can't
can
see it. I'm on my phone, Betty, so I
That's
need your
right,
help.
but we could then see it and at least read it.
Is this the one, Betty, or?
Yes, at midnight, the NYPD starts closing Church Street from Canal to Reed.
From
What
Canal
streets are
to
you interested in?
Reed.
Yes.
Okay, and if somebody has to be driven back because of whatever, like they have luggage and a whole bunch of other stuff, and they show like ID, say at 1 o'clock in the morning,
The street's
the
closed.
cops. What?
The street is closed, Church Street, not the other streets, but Church Street.
I know, but in order to get to people that live on Duane Street between Church and Broadway, you have to go to Church because it's a one-way street on Duane. So the cops usually let the people, the person go in to just drop off something. I mean, have they said anything to you about that, or that's basically just find out when it happens?
I'll see if Pat Moore and or Lucian want to address that with the first precinct.
All
I
right,
don't have an answer for you.
Okay, yeah, because you can't access Duane Street without going on Church because it's a one-way street unless you drive, All right, thank you, Betty.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully someone will get that information for you in advance.
Okay, thank you.
We go down to the streets plan, because I think that's the end of the 7 that are going to be voted together, the 6 that are going to be voted together. Yes, this particular resolution for the streets plan asks the city council to fully fund for the future fiscal years, which is important because the mayor is asking for the first 5, and there are another 5 that come after that. So this kind of sweeps in those. Otherwise, he's definitely already stated he's going to fund the first 5. And that the New York City Department of Transportation implement the streets plan and strive to meet or exceed the benchmarks, not just get the money and spend it on whatever they want. So those are all of them.
Amazing, complicated, and really clear. So thank you very much, Betty. Mitch, I'm assuming your hand is still up from before. If I see no other hands.
Yes, I'll put it down. I'm sorry, Tammy.
That's okay. So since we're taking them all together, when Mimi calls for the vote, she's going to pause because when she calls for each, so if you're going to do no, abstention, or recusal, please make sure you vote last name and give her a chance to record it. Okay? Obviously, the ayes have it. Mimi, you're up.
Okay. So for all of them, is anybody opposed?
It's Amoruso. I'm a no on the street plan and a no on that NYU bus thing, the first one.
So street plan, bus.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else?
Meltzer is a no on the AHA one.
I'm sorry, which one is that?
American Heart Association,
American Heart
Oh, okay.
Association
the
run.
Wall Street run.
Yep.
Heart.
Airman
Anyone
is a no on the street plan to the extent that I understand it.
Lerner, no on the street plan.
Lerner, street plan.
Kuchia,
All right.
if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm good.
Kuchia's a no on the street plan, the last one that we're looking at right now, and also the Heart Run. Right, yeah, the Heart Run.
Heart. All right. Anyone else?
Susan, a Cole is a no on the street plan.
Street plan. All right. Anyone else?
Mullen is a no on the street plan.
Mullen, street plan. All right. Anyone else?
Joyce is a no on the street plan.
Joyce. All right. Anyone else?
Actually, Cassell also is a no on the street plan.
Good. No street plan. All right.
Zero Song is a no on the street plan.
Street plan. B song, no street plan. All right.
Forsberg abstains on the street plan.
All right. Forsberg. Street plan. Anyone else? Abstention?
Curtis abstains on the street plan.
Curtis also?
Yeah.
Do we have any more opposed? We jumped from opposed to abstain. I just want to make sure that anyone else that would like to oppose.
Mahoney is opposed to the street plan.
Okay, opposed. All right, anyone else? Any more abstentions or oppositions?
Corman abstains on the street plan.
Actually, I missed all of that. One at a time, please.
Corman abstains on the street plan. Corman abstains on the street plan.
Corman.
Was there another one who abstained?
There were two voices, but the name didn't pop up as who was speaking.
Brown Kennedy abstains on the street plan.
Okay.
I think we're going to do a count on the street plan because I have a feeling that that one has not passed because an abstention at this point would be a no vote.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's 14 in all opposed and abstaining from street plan. And 14 isn't enough to stop it.
Froman abstains on the street plan.
Nevertheless,
Right.
since it continues, I think we should take Tammy's advice and do a roll call.
Okay, yeah. All right, so this is street plan. We will do a roll call. And Heart Association, we have 2 opposed so far. Is anybody else interested in opposing that one? It seems to be a hot topic. Or the bus service seems to also be something that, I'm not like trying to make anybody. Okay. All right, so everybody's good with all of everything else, but we're going to go through a roll call on the street plan.
Sounds like a plan.
Cool. That means you're all going to vote again because I'm not going to read my notes and then put it in here.
Correct. It's a
right.
it's a revote and a recount only on the street plans.
Okay. Street plan. Amoruso.
No.
Got it. Blank.
Blank, yes.
Got it. Brown Kennedy.
Brown Kennedy abstains.
All right. Cameron. Vicky.
Come back to her. Keep going.
Okay. Cassell.
Cassell, no.
No, got it. Sheng. Rosa. All right. Chapman.
Oh, sorry, that was me. Rosa, yes.
Rosa, yes. All right. Yes to street plan. Chapman.
Yes. Chapman, yes.
Charkoudian.
Charkoudian, yes.
All right. Cole.
No. Cole, no.
All right. Coleman.
Coleman votes yes. Thanks.
Yes. Corman.
Corman votes yes this time.
Yes. Gucha.
Your votes no, thank you.
No. All right. Curtis.
Curtis abstains.
Abstains. Airman.
Airman votes no.
No. All right. Flores.
Flores votes yes.
Yes. Flynn abstains. Forsberg.
Forsberg abstains.
Thank you. Franker.
Franker, an enthusiastic yes.
Yes. Friedman.
Friedman, yes.
All right. Roman.
Roman abstain.
All right. Galloway.
Galloway, yes.
Yes. Thank you. Goldstein.
Goldstein, abstain.
Abstain. Grant.
Grant, yes.
All right. Gupta.
Gupta abstains.
Abstain. James.
James abstains.
Abstain. Joyce.
Joyce abstains.
Abstains. Kay.
Yes. And in fact, I asked for the streets underneath the Brooklyn Bridge.
Okay. Canal.
No, emphatically yes.
Yes. Kettering.
Kettering, yes.
All right. Gopal.
Hell no.
All right. Lerner.
Lerner, emphatically no.
Okay. Thank you. Lewinson.
Lewinson is yes.
All right. Mahoney.
Mahoney is a reluctant but complex answer no.
Okay.
Remote EVs.
McHugh.
McHugh, no.
All right. Meltzer.
Meltzer, so wishing we were in person that I could talk offline to Mahoney. Stunned, and I mean, yes, although I'm going to ask for a callback because I'm a little like now on the fence. Like, really?
Me
I
too.
can
I
get
want
back
call
to you.
back. I'm reading this again.
Call back.
Happy to talk to it.
The reso.
Happy to talk about it.
Pat Moore.
Boy, yes.
All right. Mullen.
Mullen abstain. I'd like to change.
Okay. Schneck.
Schneck abstains.
All right. Star. Star.
Back to her.
Laura. Okay. Jimmy.
Abstain.
Sung. Abstain.
Respectfully,
Vera-
no.
All right. Townley.
Townley, yes.
All right. Z.
Abstain.
Abstain. You. Eric.
Oh, you votes no.
No? All right. Zelter?
Zelter, yes.
Yes. All right, and I got a couple callbacks. Kucha, you said you wanted to call back. I'm missing Cameron. Vicky, are you there?
I am. I'm sorry. I stepped away for a minute. No. Cameron?
No.
I'm
All right, and
changing my
Kucha?
vote. I'm changing my vote to yes.
All right. And Meltzer?
Meltzer's going to be a yes if we can get them any amount of placards in the municipal fleet reduced by 50 to 70. I'm an exuberant yes for Lower Manhattan.
That was why I abstained.
I want those cars off our streets.
Yep. And that's it. Exactly. They need to be.
I mean, maybe we should be discussing this more. I feel the same way, Tammy. That's why I'm abstaining.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a yes.
Maybe we can separate the placard from the other issues.
Me too.
We're actually in a voting situation.
Point of order,
We
Madam
could-
Chair. We're in the middle
Exactly.
of a vote.
Point of order.
That's-
We're in the
that's
middle
right.
of a vote.
Exactly.
So is
Yes,
it
that's
I've
right.
had
Yeah.
I've had four people say the same thing. We're in the middle of the vote. My vote was yes.
Yep. Me too.
So
So
is
count
Laura
the
Star?
votes.
Yes.
Star, are you Laura?
Yes.
I see your, but I can't hear you. Okay. Yes. Laura says
can't
yes.
hear me? Yes.
That
Yes.
I heard you this time. I didn't hear you earlier.
Sorry.
So
Okay, sorry.
in favor is 20, opposed is 11, and abstain is 13.
Mimi, can I
Yes.
change to abstain?
And this is please state your name.
Cassell.
Cassell. All right, you can be an abstain.
Keep in mind,
Okay.
peeps, your abstains or no's at this point.
All right, so now it's 21 yes. Wait a second. Did I do that wrong? I'm so sorry. Cassell is abstained. It was 20 yes a second ago, wasn't it? Well, maybe not. I don't know. 21 yes, opposed 10, abstain is 14.
Okay, the result.
Yeah, let's move on. It's defeated.
Yep.
Yes.
The reso pass, I didn't hear that.
It did
No.
not pass. It fails. It fails to pass because of the amount of abstentions and no's. It does not mean that it can't come back. It just failed to pass. Okay.
Move the agenda, please.
Betty has one more resolution.
Tammy, I have a question in terms of process, if I may.
I have my hand up. I mean,
Oh,
Jesus.
well, so did I, but go ahead, Colin, if you like.
No,
I
you did
I
go
did
ahead,
too.
but it's just so
But I
talk
did
that drives me
anyway.
crazy.
All right, or maybe I didn't have my hand up, so you go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think, look, I'll do this in 2 sentences. There needs to be, I think, a thoughtful approach to what downtown looks like. There's a group of people that wants to remove cars altogether. There's a group of people that want to encourage biking and bus lanes. And there's a group of people like me who want to encourage electric cars and a more sustainable downtown. I think we have to have a whole approach to what we think should happen as opposed to doing piecemeal things like this. So committees suck. They're the worst thing in the world. But let's have a thoughtful approach to this instead of just kind of picking battles one at a time. That's all I want to say.
And Colin, I appreciate that. I'm gonna not legislate or discuss this in full board. I'm gonna ask everyone to go back to transportation because this was about the streets master plan. So this was not picayune. I think perhaps it was confused. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna encourage everyone to go to transportation and to take a look at this again, to look at the streets plan during this and future fiscal years and see what the master streets plan is. I will ask Lucian to redistribute it, including the including all the benchmarks and everything else, because this deserves a robust consideration and discussion. And if maybe in the next one, when Betty does it, we urge him to fund the street plan and we put in whatever thoughts we have about how it affects and the things it does in Community Board 1. So that is my thing. I am not going to recognize anybody else because I think that the discussions on this should go to committee. Betty, you good with that?
That's fine. There's one more resolution.
Thank you.
And this
If I
one will
may,
be,
this is, I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask a question about process, not about this resolution specifically.
Go ahead, Richard.
It seemed to me that at some point this should have had some additional discussion. And my question is how and when would a question about or request to have a discussion have been appropriate?
It was discussed in committee. Most of the people who either abstained or voted no by the large bulk did not attend the Transportation Committee meeting. So perhaps this will spur them to return and when it is put back on the agenda to discuss it. So it
Can we
really
move
is.
Madam Chair, can we move the agenda? The item is off the agenda. You're giving viewpoints that are out of order.
We are trying to move it along. We have recognized Betty and Mr. Corman interrupted for a process question. His process question is answered, and now we're moving to the next resolution with Betty.
and this is the citizen reporting of hazardous obstruction violations, which is a law. If you go to the next one, 'cause I need some cues on this one. This was introduced in 2020 as local law 2159. It was not voted on, so it did not pass or fail. This is merely asking them to reconsider it. And if you wonder what hazardous obstruction violations were, according to this law, vehicles that are blocking sidewalks, crosswalks, bus lanes, and fire hydrants. It's very specific. It's no other areas, it's just those. This would be to ask that pedestrian ramps also be considered a hazardous obstruction violation. The citizen reporting, again, it was not detailed. Is it just a photograph? Is it something beyond a photograph? That was not covered in the law, and that would be something for the legislators, if they bring it back up again, to consider. And this was at City Council. Asking Mayor Adams to support and sign such a bill, again, assuming it gets through City Council. And that parking violations by city vehicles and vehicles with city-issued placards would be included as being subject to citizen reporting, which is in this 2159 that was introduced in 2020. They were included in something that citizens could report if they saw them in these specific locations. I know that we can start with Mark, then Justine, then Tammy.
Yeah, I'm disturbed by the vagueness of this. You really need more information. I mean, we're deputizing citizens here to, take photographs that could be manipulated or have explanations for at that particular moment. I mean, more like everyone else, I can't stand the placard abuse situation, but I mean, it's just ripe for how can I put it? Be nicely. It just the vagueness of it. I don't think we should be voting on this until we have more information.
The law, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're supporting something that we don't know what the enforcement's going to be, who's going to have the authority. There's a simple photograph, initiate, summons. I mean, we don't know any of these questions, answers to these questions. So I think until we find that out, I think we should table this.
Actually, it's very much the same as with the idling vehicles, rather than being because that you had to show a
That's
period of
different.
time.
That's a video. That's a video.
Correct,
That
but you're
has to be
talking
for
about
2
deputizing.
minutes. Right.
If you let me answer.
That's a sustainable thing. I mean, you have someone next to a hydrant. Who's to say the angle of the photo is exactly the number of feet away it should be, unless they're standing there with a tape measure and this sort of thing. The idling thing is different because you're actually standing there, videotaping something for 2 minutes without edits. So I think it's apples and oranges. So
Amendment.
no, I don't think we should be. I think we should table this until we have more information. That's what I'm saying.
We
There's
can't
no
have a
amendments.
law if it's tabled, so we don't know what the details are, so that's a vicious cycle.
We should wait. We should wait until the details, until we support
Wait
something.
for what?
Make a motion then, please. Or move
I
on.
just made a motion to table.
Right. Is there a second? Sorry, Tammy.
If they don't introduce the law again, then we can't ever get the answers that Mark wants, so it's
There's
a
a
way of
motion on the
saying
table.
just kill it.
Okay, stop, everybody. There's been a motion to table. Is it seconded?
I second it.
Then let's take a vote. Mimi, roll call. Or do other call. It's fine. This is a
Other.
Sorry, Tammy.
motion to table on this.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll call. Is that what we're doing here?
You can do it by affirmation unless it gets hinky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is anybody opposed to tabling?
It's
Culture's
confusing.
opposed.
Can we just
Yeah.
do a roll call, please?
Yeah, let's just do a roll. It'll be fast, kind of.
Oh,
Maybe a little bit. All right, Em Russo.
Yes to table.
All right. Yes to table. Alice Blank.
I'm abstaining. I'm not sure I'm getting the whole reason why we're tabling, but I have to abstain.
Okay. Brown Kennedy.
John Kennedy abstains.
Okay. Cameron.
Cameron, no, I don't want to abstain. I don't want to table.
All right. Cassell.
So yes, table.
All right. Chang.
Chang votes no to table.
No to table. Chapman.
No to table.
No to table. Charcudian.
Yes to table.
Yes to table. Cole.
No to table.
No to table. Coleman.
Absolutely do not table. Thank you.
No to table. Corman.
Corman abstains.
Abstaining. Going. Kucha.
Yeah, sadly, I'm going to abstain from tabling too. I can't decide.
Curtis.
Curtis doesn't understand, so she abstains.
Francis, do
Okay.
you need an explanation? Table?
I'm gonna abstain. I'm good. Thank you.
Airman. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
I see you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Airman, absolutely no to abstaining, to tabling. So
Okay.
no.
Not no to table. Got it. Flores.
Flores, no.
No. Oh, Flynn. Oh man, it's a tough one. No. Forsberg. Forsberg, Gerald. Alrighty. Francoeur.
Francoeur is a no to tabling.
No to tabling. Friedman.
Friedman, no.
No. Froman.
Froman, yes.
Yes to table. Galloway.
Galloway, yes.
Yes to table. Goldstein.
Yes.
Yes to table. Grant.
Grant, yes.
Yes. Table. Gupta.
Gupta, yes to table.
Yes to table. James.
James abstains.
Abstains. Is that what I?
Yes, James abstains.
All right. Joyce.
Joyce abstains.
Joyce also abstains. Okay. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Okay, no.
No to tabling. Canal.
Canal, no.
No to tabling. Ketrin.
Kettering, no.
No. Capel. Joel. All right. Lerner.
Lerner, yes.
Yes to tabling. Lewinson.
Lewinson, no.
No to tabling. And Mahoney.
Mahoney, no to tabling.
No to tabling. McHugh.
Q, yes to tabling.
Yes to table. Meltzer?
No.
No to table. Moore?
Or no.
No. Mullen?
Mullen, yes.
Yes to table. Schneck?
Schneck votes yes.
Yes to table. Star?
No. Star votes
No. To table. Jimmy Sung? Jimmy Sung? Vera Sung?
Yes to table.
Yes to table. Townley? Bob Townley? All right. Z?
Yes.
Yes to table. You?
Yes to table.
Yes to table. Zelter?
No.
No to table. All right, so we've got some gaps here. Did people leave? I guess I'm wondering. So, Forsberg. Still there? No. And then
He's marked out.
Copel.
He's here.
Copel's still here. All right. And Townley also gone.
Townley answered, didn't he? I don't know.
Did he? I'm just going to do a quick search.
Bob's here.
Bob is on. Bob, can you unmute and vote for me, please?
I need Bob, Joel to both unmute and vote.
Mimi Bernard Lynn just came in.
Whoa.
Bernard, can you vote whether you're tabling or not, please?
Table it. Thank you.
Table it. Yes. All right.
Capel voted no.
Okay, Copel just voted no.
All right. Capel is no.
Now we're missing Townley.
Yeah.
Sent an unmute request to Townley. So I don't know if he's at the keyboard at the moment.
Okay, what's the vote so far?
No. Well, I accidentally. So right now in favor is 16, abstain is 7, and you know, I'm the worst. I like have to change all these N's to O's because I was like apparently making it up as I go. I'm really sorry about that. But so far, like the, you know. All right. So we've got 14 opposed, 7 abstain, and 16 in favor.
So then it's 21.
Oh, wait, hold on a second.
21-7.
Hold on. I don't know. I'm the worst. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst.
Okay, it's a long night.
Yes,
You
yes
know,
is the table. Yes is the table, and abstentions
looks
combined is 23. I believe.
Yeah, okay. So in favor is yes, opposed is 20, and abstain is 7.
So
Motion, it does not
motion-
carry.
the
Let's
motion-
go on.
Correct. The motion does not carry. Thank you, Bruce. I can chair. The motion does not carry. Let's move on and take the vote. Vote is next.
Wait a minute, we had hands up for discussion.
I have hands up for questions. I understand that, and I'm getting there. So, in order, we're going with people who have not spoken extensively first. So that's going to go Trisha and Jeff, followed by Justine, and then Mitch. And I am putting a limit. You get 1 minute to ask your question. This is not a back and forth. We're limiting debate. Tricia, you're first, followed by Jeff. Go, Tricia.
Thank you, Betty, for doing this. It is very difficult, and I respect that. And I really just wanted to tell you that because we did this over at Millennium with the placards there in front of the school. And it was very successful to have people call in because the police could not be there in those moments. It was out of control. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. Jeff Galloway.
I agree that placard parking is a serious problem and increased enforcement is desired. But I don't agree with the concept of encouraging citizens to be snitches on one another. And I think it's bad public policy, it's bad civics. And unless the people actually understand what the various parking violations are, it's subject to misreporting. For example, standing in front of a fire hydrant is perfectly legal, although parking in front of a fire hydrant is not. Unless you've recently taken your driver's test, you wouldn't probably know that distinction. So I'm opposed to the resolution on that basis.
Thank you, Jeff, for your succinctness. It was either Mitch or Justine, whichever
I
one.
think it's me, then Mitch, but Mitch, if you're ready.
You go, Justine. You go, Justine.
Thank you, sir. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna kind of fall in with Jeff. Betty, first of all, thank you for taking this on because it's not easy at all. And I know that we talked about it. Actually, I think I was actually at your committee, and I know that there were carvebacks made or concessions made to acknowledge the conflict between citizen reporting and exactly what Jeff said for exactly the same reasons. And it's there as a whereas. My biggest concern is, and it's not going to help, but I guess it won't be a friendly amendment, but if this does not pass, I would recommend that if we can ask the law be rewritten or refocused to focus on placard parking, I think we could all, well, I could get behind it in that regard. But I don't know that I want people empowered to complain about their neighbors. Complaining about police that are abusing the placards that have not been able to get addressed is one thing. But I don't want people complaining about their neighbors. And this bill does not limit it to just placard parking. Thank you. As I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
You know, you're correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Justine, moving to Mitch,
Right.
and then Sarah, and then Joe Lerner.
Basically, Justine echoed most of what I was going to say, so I'll keep it very brief. I respect immensely everything Betty has done. And for all the people that in the general board that weren't at the transportation meeting, I think we were almost in 100% agreement with everything else concerning the placards, concerning, like cars of any type blocking accessibility ramps for disabled and all that stuff. But the slippery slope of a citizen reporting another citizen, there's a million times that I see, because they've put some, and rightly so, they've put some bike lanes on side streets in front of apartment buildings, and you see a mother with children and packages having to drop her kids off in front of the building and have to park in the bike lane for 20, 30 seconds, and a picture from another citizen looking to make another $40, $50. It's really a dangerous, slippery slope. Those things are happening in other things, not analogous, but more important things in other parts of the country, as you know. But it's
Mitch,
yes.
your 1 minute is up. I apologize.
So can we take that out of the thing, or that has to be a separate thing, like what Justine said?
Betty.
Well, this was discussed in committee, and I know people want to change the law, but this is asking to reconsider a law that was already written and already discussed in city council.
There are laws in Texas that you wouldn't agree with right now, so
Mitch,
Okay.
I'm asking for them.
Joe Lerner, Sarah, we'll do Joe and then Sarah and Vicky. It's 9:01 and we still have more committees. 1 minute, and I'm serious. I'm gonna have the office just mute people.
Thank you, Jeff. I don't like snitches. You never know where it winds up. Thanks again.
Wow. Love you, Joe. Sarah?
I agree about the snitches. But the other issue is cobblestones. Are we talking about that later?
Oh.
I've seen so many people in Tribeca fall down and get hurt.
Quality of life.
Sarah,
Cobblestones.
that's not this committee yet.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I know wishful thinking.
Okay, drives me nuts.
Okay, Vicky.
I just want to say that while I understand the concept of snitching, I think it's the wrong word to use because I, as a community board member, report the unbelievable congestion on Fulton Street between Gold and Water Street. So why am I any different? Because I have a voice and a platform where I can be heard. So I think that we might be exaggerating the snitching part. We, the people, have to report what is going on. And I think most people will not be vicious. But we have some serious issues down here because of our narrow street. So we all have to work together. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Michael Francoeur, Jess Coleman, and I think I've gotten everybody.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to dovetail off of what Vicky just said. I hear everyone's concerns about civilian complaints, but that's already very much city policy. What we're asking for here is to we're asking for the city to enforce the laws that already exist. So we're not asking anyone to report anything that isn't already illegal. And yeah, as I said, civilian reporting is very much city policy already. There was a bill passed a few years ago about idling. The NYPD makes extensive use of asking for tips, and they even provide money for tips. Most recently in the Brooklyn subway shooting. So I hear people's concerns, but yeah, this I think it might be misplaced. So that's my.
Okay.
I very much support this.
Thank you, Michael Francoeur. Jess Coleman.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the point, but I just want to say that, yeah, I mean, snitching is not only the policy of the city, it's encouraged all the time. I mean, it's literally like the slogan of the NYP is say something. If you see something, say something. I mean, you are empowered today to call 311 or call the police if you see someone committing a crime and violating parking laws. But this is an empirical problem that we have seen that the police and 311 are not capable or unwilling or for whatever reason will not enforce this. So this cuts them out of the equation, is a narrowly tailored solution to a problem that we've all experienced. And you either want to get rid of these violations or you don't, and this is the way to do it. And that's why I support it. And I think the snitching thing is way overblown and not really the issue here.
Thank you, Jess. Mimi?
I think that saying that 311 and the police can't do their jobs and that we just need to start doing it for them is lazy. I think that something is wrong in the city and that this is just a way to put a Band-Aid over it. It's like a quick fix, and we really need to rethink what it is that we should be doing with our streets and what should be allowed to be done with them. And I know that that's probably what the master plan is about, but I just think that if we're having trouble with like 311 and police, then we need to fix that problem. And it doesn't mean that we need to report against each other.
Lucian is going to be the last call on this, and then I'm going to call the question immediately after Lucian goes. Lucian?
Hi, I just want to provide a little bit of depth to the enforcement mechanism as it is being used with the DEP engine idling reporting. The way that it works is a person submits, and this is just for your consideration because I haven't heard this part be discussed, so I want to make sure everyone understands how the mechanism works. Someone provides a video of what they believe is someone violating the specific code that is provided for in the law. There's not an automatic issuance of a summons. The Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings reviews the video, and then if they believe that they are observing a violation, then they issue a summons, and there's still an opportunity for the person who gets the summons to defend themselves. So that's the only thing that hasn't been mentioned, but I just wanted to make sure it was
Lucian, what's
out
the
there.
timeline on that?
It takes quite a while for review because, well, they had to hire up a lot of people because there's a kind of a backlog since there's so much idling going on. But if it were all staffed up, it may not be. I can't tell you how long it would take. It just depends on how much the city budgets towards staffing people who can review and process these sorts of things.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Lucian, for that. I am actually calling the question. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mimi, since I don't want to hear anything otherwise, I'd like this to be roll called, please.
Okay, cool. Ann Maruso.
Hands down. Thanks.
Definite no.
No. Blank.
Yes to this resolution.
Yes. Brown Kennedy.
Brown Kennedy abstain.
Abstain. Cameron.
Yes.
Gasol.
Cell abstains.
Chang.
Chang votes yes.
Yes. Chapman.
Chapman votes yes.
Charkoudian.
Charkoudian votes no.
Oh. Opposed. Cole.
Cole votes no.
Coleman.
Yes.
Corman.
Norman, yes.
Kucha.
Kucha, no.
Curtis.
Curtis abstains.
Ehrman.
Airman, yes.
Flores.
Flores, yes.
Lynn is no, and I also voted no in committee. Forsberg.
Forsberg texted that he's having technical difficulties. He'll reach out to you.
He must vote.
Okay, I'll need.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll
I-
need him to be available in the record.
Okay,
Frank
I'm
Kirk?
sorry. Okay.
There's a yes.
Friedman.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Froman.
Froman, because they can't separate the citizens' cars from government cars, I'm gonna have to vote no just for that 10% thing. So no.
Okay. Galloway.
Galloway, no.
Goldstein.
Goldstein, yes.
Grant.
Grant, yes.
Gupta.
Gupta, yes.
James.
James, no.
Joyce.
Joyce, yes.
Kay.
Hey, yes.
Cannell.
Cannell, yes.
Kettering.
Kettering, no.
Capel. Joel.
Hell, yes.
I'm sorry, say that one more time, Capel. Joel, can you just say that one more time, please?
He said yes.
Yes, he said yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He
Good,
definitely
good.
said yes.
Lerner.
Lerner, no.
Lewinson.
Lewinson, yes.
Mahoney.
Mahoney, no.
McHugh.
McHugh, no.
Melter.
So yes.
Moore.
Boy, yes.
Mullen.
Mullen, yes.
Schneck.
Schneck votes no.
Star.
Star votes yes.
Sung. Jimmy Sung. Jimmy Sung. Vera Sung.
I'm abstain.
Mhm. Townley? Townley? Okay. Z? What was that? Z?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Hey,
You?
Townley here. Just
Oh,
confirm
hey.
on my computer. I vote yes.
Yes, all right, thank you. You?
You votes no.
All right. Zelter?
Zelter votes yes.
Yes. And Jimmy Sung, are you here? No. And Forsberg, have you been able to fix your computer issues?
I don't see either.
I don't see. Is he in attendees? No. All right, well, let me get the tally real quick. So in favor is 25, opposed is 14, and abstain is 4.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mimi. Let's move to the next committee. Before we move to the next committee, I apologize. Jason Friedman, you need to come back. Mimi, do you have a vote on 90 West Street?
I'm here.
No, I do not have a vote for 90 West Street.
So we need to take the vote on 90 West.
Let's do
Didn't
it.
vote.
I second.
Mimi, take it away.
All right. Let's just do this the old-fashioned way. Is anybody opposed to the 90 West? This is the cast iron thing. Does anybody want to abstain from the cast iron thing on 90 West? Any recusals? Alrighty. Unanimous.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Next committee. Alice. Alice,
Okay. Yep, I'm
Alice, I
here.
promise, no matter what you have next time, you go first.
Okay. Okay, 3 reports quickly. 250 Water Street Brownfield cleanup. Report by Laura Dodge, our community consultant. There were soil borings were conducted last weekend at the site, and the work was promised to be conducted in compliance with the remedial action work plan and construction health and safety plan. The consultant did not foresee any problems here based on the fact that there had been no air quality issues for the previous round of borings and tests at the site, as she stated. The community was promised by HHC, Howard Hughes, that there would be no disruptive work during the state math test that took place today and will take place tomorrow. And it was confirmed by Megan Malvern of Children First that, in fact, there was no disruption today, which is good news. Second item, well, I guess I should ask if there's any questions on that. Okay. The second item was very interesting, the archaeological plans for 250 Water Street. I want to thank Howard Hughes on this one, who did arrange for their team archaeologist, Emily Mead from AKRF, to provide a summary of the archaeological work plan for the 250 Water Street site. AKRF is the same consulting firm who did the field work, which had uncovered the ship at the southern site of the World Trade Center in 2013, and the Ronson ship that was found at 175 Water Street in the late 80s. Water Street, as many of you might know, was originally the location of the edge of New York City's waterfront, and the southern half of the development site represents some of the oldest landfill in Manhattan. Diana, I don't know if you have, you can just run the slides, but I do think there's a nice slide that shows, that shows on the bottom, you'll see Water Street, what it once was. The potential presence of intact landfilling retaining structures has been confirmed through the soil borings. The archaeological study concluded that the development site is highly sensitive for archaeological resources at depths 8 feet below the ground surface, and confirms there is a high likelihood that significant historic artifacts may be found. Specifically, the presence of several slips at shipyards within the landfill increases the likelihood that a sunken or derelict vessel could be incorporated into the landfill in the vicinity of this site. In addition, the possibility exists to uncover deeply buried resources associated with something called the Allerton Wharf, one of the oldest waterfront structures known to have been constructed in New York City, which could provide critical information on mid-17th century commerce, wharf construction, and landfilling practices. As the entire 250 Water Street site is to be remediated to a depth of 15 feet below the ground surface during the brownfield cleanup work, the archaeological study is a critical document which confirms that any and all excavation below a depth of 8 feet will be archaeologically monitored regardless of the reason for the excavation. And that's something I'm quoting. One or more archaeologists will be on site to monitor construction in all sensitive areas with necessary precautions for health and safety. All monitoring will be documented using photographs, video, drawings, and field notes as appropriate. Prior to any decontamination activity, AKRF will set up an on-site artifact washing station. The archaeological consultant will promptly notify the Landmarks Preservation Commission with whom they're working of any finds. According to the report, there will be construction and monitoring schedule made available, which I'm sure we would like to see. And please note that the archaeological study is a public document and can be found on the CB1 website in the external document file, and it's well worth reviewing for anyone interested in understanding the potential historic resources at this site, which could be fascinating. I'm going to be reaching out to the Department of Design and Construction to have the same type of archaeological review provided, assuming that we can have one on the Borough-based jail site, which is, of course, another site with sensitive historic resources. Okay, last quick report was, any questions on the archaeological report? Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Who's that? Yes.
Bruce. So at the World Trade Center site, Section 106, federal Section 106 process was triggered. That was not a landmark building. It wasn't on the National Register of Historic Places. I was appointed a consulting party to the Section 106 process. In other words, there was stakeholder representation in the archaeological dig and finds, and I propose that as this moves forward, that there be stakeholder community representation as consulting parties to this archaeological process.
I think it's a great idea. It's something we should definitely take up with Howard Hughes and see how we can be more sort of a potential part of it. And Bruce, maybe you can outline offline what that might look like as far as a kind of agreement or something. Thanks. I think it's a good idea. I'm glad that we've got this finally aired to look at the archaeology of these sites. So it would be helpful to have somebody who really represents us on it, or one of us, or one committee. We're certainly at the Environmental Protection Committee reviewing this carefully because of the brownfield cleanup program. Okay, anybody else? Okay. So the last thing, go ahead, Tammy.
I don't see anybody else. I apologize.
Okay, so the last thing was a wonderful presentation called Cities at Risk, Making of a Green District in Tribeca. This was provided by Amy Chester, who's the head of Rebuild by Design, and Jeanette Sordi, who was from Syracuse University School of Architecture. They ran a seminar in the fall to use the west side of Manhattan below 59th Street as a case study to develop strategies for, as they call it, an equitable climate adaptation plan, looking through the lens of 5 topic areas: carbon reduction, storm surge, increased rainfall, urban heat island, air quality, and social resilience. They collaborated with environmental nonprofits, local elected officials, as well as CBs 1, 2, and 4 to ensure that the academic work was informed by real life challenges. The outcome of the work was a presentation that we saw to all of the CBs I mentioned on Manhattan's West Side, and they also provided an extremely well done guidebook, which can be accessed again on the board website in the external documents file. And lastly, as Tammy and I think Justine mentioned, don't forget this Thursday at 4 p.m., the South Battery Park City Resiliency Project pre-construction site tour. And hopefully by at some point in the next week or two, we will be able to see the models of the site at 200 Rector Place at the community room there. Thanks.
Thank you, Alice. And next committee.
Okay, that's me, Paul, Waterfront Parks Cultural. First item is a resolution in support.
Uh-oh.
Let's put up you could just go through them. Nancy Kong of the Park Row Alliance briefed the committee on their efforts to reopen Park Row as a pedestrian thoroughfare, which has been closed since 9/11. The closure was especially hurt the Chinatown businesses and their overall community, since visits to the area are much lower than in the past. The plan aims to make Park Row connection safer and easier to find and use for pedestrians. The plan is a follow-up on a 2009 plan to reopen and restore this. In November 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul announced that Manhattan's Chinatown had been selected to receive $20 million in investments to revitalize the neighborhood. This group, the Park Row Revitalization, is seeking between $3 million and $9 million to implement this plan. They're working with the Brooklyn Bridge Manhattan group to implement their plan. NYPD Counterterrorism has been briefed and they seem to be supportive. In summary, the plan will create a safer, wider, better lit Park Row, including landscape and weight. The opening is just for pedestrians and not for vehicles. That's it. The resolution was passed overwhelmingly in committee. I don't see any hands. Do you?
I do not. Let's rock and roll then. Mimi, old-fashioned way for calling question, and I'm calling the question. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Let's take the vote.
Is anyone opposed? Does anyone want to abstain or recuse themselves?
This is Rosa. I need to recuse.
Okay.
I'm Marissa, abstain.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Okay, so moving along, just a couple of quick reports. We heard from the Parks Department. They're working in Washington Market Park, laying down new sod and addressing a drainage problem at the park. New plantings are also being put in to mitigate that drainage problem. And they recognize that the playground also needs some work. City Hall Park, we heard also about some new plantings in the works. And those LED replacement lightings that we discussed a few months ago are expected to be implemented soon. And one small piece of good news, City Hall Park and East River Esplanade will now have gardeners assigned to them moving forward. So those areas should improve a bit. Finally, Fearless Girls. Anyway, we received an update from Diana and also from the artist. There she is. The artist is Kristen Visbal, and she attended the meeting. So just to catch you up, the New York City Public Design Commission needs to determine whether the artwork will remain at this current Wall Street location for how long. They did vote earlier this month to extend its stay for 11 months. But they need to resolve a variety of issues regarding the statue. Public Design asked the parties to return in 6 months with a plan for the ultimate fate of the artwork. Back in November, the Landmarks Commission approved a 3-year extension, but they deferred to PDC, Public Design Commission. Now, the artist in attending the meeting were deciding the fate of her work without her. She's apparently involved in a legal dispute with an organization called State Street Global Advisors, which has control of the artwork and applied for the permit and has been speaking to the city on behalf of that artwork. Another issue is that the community board has asked the Public Design Commission to allow us and the community to again have some input into this, and they seem to be somewhat resistant to that notion. So I think we have to press that issue. So bottom line is more to come on this.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Trisha, do you want to report or do you want to pass?
I'd like to report. It's super quick. We don't have any resolutions.
Perfect.
I want to also correct the agenda because we tabled high school admissions till next month. They weren't out yet. And we added Trinity Wall Street after school program. So just for the record, I'm reporting on those two things, the Harbor School and Trinity Wall Street. Quickly, we have not heard back since the letter from the elected officials went to the mayor's office and a bunch of other stakeholders about our lease for building 515 and hopefully the yard around building 515, which was the problem. If you all remember, the Governor's Island Trust, for some reason, when they awarded 515 to the Department of Education to expand the Harbor School, build their pool, long overdue pool and gym, they neglected to include the yard around the building. We still have not received a reason why, although we assume it is because they feel as though they could have commercial enterprises there. We have recommended that the parking lot adjacent to this building is one that could be used for that bike. It actually would be a better position for that bike rental organization, but mostly because you have now 1,000 high school students that can't walk out the front door onto the lawn, which makes no sense. So we're waiting to hear back on that. We're going to take it up a notch if we don't by the time we meet. The other one is Trinity Wall Street. They're going to come and be more specific at our May meeting, but there are a couple of deadlines coming up at the end of this week. So I wanted to make sure and report on it. If you haven't been to Trinity Commons, do yourself a favor. It is so beautiful. Some of you will recall that Trinity did a series of charrettes in the community, more than they had to. I want to say it was like 5 or 6 to get feedback on what the community would like for them to make room for in their new building on Trinity Place. If you walk out the back of Trinity Church and across that walkway, you walk right into it. So it's back on Greenwich Street. So I'm sure a lot of you have passed it. Anyway, it's a beautiful facility. They are have been incredibly generous. There is a ton of free programming, mostly for youth, which is desperately needed in the high school age group. There are drop-in, no programming rooms. There's lounges. There's a cafe there. After school, they have an after-school program that you can sign up for. It is free of cost. Some of it is programming like arts classes, ceramics, academic tutoring on Thursdays. If you haven't seen it, you should go to trinitywallstreet.org. They have a summer fellows program for teenagers, juniors and seniors in high school, which are very hard. It's very hard to get a paying job, as those of you who are parents of that age group know. And they have a history fellows program that they're going to be running this summer, and it's going to be fantastic. They get to partake in creating and from scratch and curating exhibits that they're going to do, and also updating and organizing their archives, which, you know, for Trinity are nationally significant. It's a tremendous opportunity. It's a paid position. The deadline is this Thursday. So if you go on their website, trinitywallstreet.org, you're going to see under youth all of the offerings. The offerings are for 6 through 12. The paid positions and that kind of programming is obviously for high school students. And if you're interested in hearing more on their programming and what's going to be offered in the fall, do not miss our May meeting where they will come in person to present. And that's it.
Alrighty. Thank you very, very much. And hopefully people will see you in May. Patrick, Laura, 5 minutes because there's no resolutions, please.
Yeah, hi Tammy, thanks. I'll be real quick. Mercifully, there were no land use applications or resolutions this month for the Land Use Zoning and Economic Development Committee. We got an update on a new RFP that's going out from New York City EDC on the South Street Seaport concession areas. Those are within the DMAP streets in a historic South Street Seaport area. Think along Fulton Street, etc. The community board dealt with this right before the pandemic and issued a resolution about what we thought should happen with what we thought should happen with the RFP and what we thought should happen ultimately with any funds that are realized from those concessions. The initial RFP was issued in March of 2020, and there was only one respondent, which is the used to be the Chase Sapphire Bar, but the bar that's located there in the middle of Fulton Street. EDC, through a technical glitch, has had to reissue that and is doing so now with expectation of responses in the next couple of months. They'll come back and review what responses they get for those. But the key features of the concession program is that a large portion of it is meant to go to improvements within the historic South Street Seaport area. While the city can't specifically direct those funds to one entity or agency, it's understood that the bulk of the money generated by those concessions will go to help improve ships and other things that are maintained by the South Street Seaport Museum. We also got an update from our friends at the Downtown Alliance on the economic development front. Josh Nakowitz, Vice President of Research, gave us a really good deep dive into what is going on now, what's been happening in the beginning of the recovery post-pandemic in terms of offensive vacancies, leasing rates, et cetera. He talked a lot about the great programs that the Alliance has implemented to try to keep small businesses afloat during the pandemic and what they're doing to try to lure small businesses back downtown now that things are starting to open up a little bit. But of course, they expressed a desire to see more folks get back in the office, just like I'm sure we all want to see. They have some statistics. I encourage everyone to go check out the reporting and the statistics on the Downtown Alliance website if you're interested in that. It's really amazing, all of the things that they're able to capture and that they're able to do. They're supporting a lot of great programs, and we heard from Taina Prado, Chief of Staff at the Alliance as well, about a lot of the great art installation programs and other things that are going to be going on this summer and have been going on, over the last couple of years or so. This is part of what will be a quarterly update that we're going to get in LZE from the Downtown Alliance, and we really appreciated them coming to give that update. And a lot of members expressed appreciation for all that the Alliance has done throughout the pandemic, and that it was kind of a nice relief to see the folks in the red uniforms and the buses and trucks out. It was a good sign for folks. The last thing from land use was a quick discussion on and a follow-up on Water Street privately owned public spaces and what happens and what the rules of play are for interim installations. Diana can weigh in if there's anything more specific, but basically we learned that the Department of City Planning has jurisdiction over it, and that there is a community board notification, but not a specific review procedure. And as it relates to 200 Water Street, which is the one installation that sort of triggered this question, we did get a notice right before our April meeting, and so we, sort of took a look at that. That's it. Any questions?
I do not see any questions. Thank you so much for
Great.
the expediency. We'll move
Sure.
directly, and thank you obviously for where we're going. Pat.
Hey, so I'll try to make it quick. First of all, we have a resolution. Let's do that. It's
That's got to
on.
be last. It's roll call. And then
Oh, so, okay, last is roll call. So we did not, as was mentioned earlier, the discussion about the cannabis is there's a meeting that's going to take place on Thursday. You heard about that earlier, and Mariana will report to our committee next month. The cobblestone, I have to apologize for everyone who came out for the cobblestone discussion. We had to delay it until May because we had such a huge turnout and a long, long discussion about the detention center's demolition project and plan. So as every other month in quality of life, we have the DDC come and talk to us about all of the infrastructure projects and street projects that are going on. Those include, very quickly, just Vestry Street, Worth Street, Front Street, Granite Street, Water Street, and then there are some new projects that will be starting in the future. They will come and tell us about. It'll be West Broadway, Trinity Place, Nassau, and Pine. They'll come and talk about some of those projects in the future. If you want to hear about each of those projects, please go and look at this month's YouTube, for the meeting, because it's long and it's complicated. And again, like I said, the long topic was the demolition project for the detention center, and our meeting went on, I think, until almost 10 o'clock or quarter to 10, as this one is. So that is basically it. You can see what happened on the YouTube channel. So now, can we get to the 3 and 3 resolution?
I have a question.
Who is it, Bruce?
Yes. Is that all right?
Bruce, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Okay, yes. In regard to the first item, I just want to say that I spoke to Jennifer Leon this week, because it's almost a satire. The Worth Street reconstruction project, after 7 years, still isn't completely done, and even she thinks it's a travesty. And I want to point out, because this is in relation to a conversation this community board already had tonight, the Zero Vision project is inclusive of the Worth Street reconstruction project, and more accidents and deaths have occurred under Vision Zero than before Vision Zero. And on Worth Street, the streetlights are so blinding, and I reported this to her, that you cannot see faces on the street. All you see is the glare of the incredibly bright streetlights.
Bruce,
so that's my comment on. Also, on cobblestone street repairs, it's hilarious that while we're discussing this, the other day the city is cobbling parts of North Moore Street. It's like we don't even exist. They're just doing their thing separately. Done.
Bruce, go to the meeting in May so you can talk about cobblestones.
You can talk to come talk about, and I apologize to everyone. Right. I apologize to everyone again who came out for the cobblestone discussion this month, and we didn't have it, so it's delayed until May. All right. Any other questions? If not, let's take the resolution. We had one.
We'll second the question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm sure everybody's read it. They know what it is. So can we go forward?
The resolution's been called and seconded. Mimi, roll call, and then we will close the meeting.
All right. And Maruso?
Yes.
Thank you.
Blank, yes.
Thank you, Blank. Brown Kennedy?
Brown Kennedy votes yes.
Thank you. Cameron?
Cameron, yes.
Thank you. Cassell?
Cassell, yes.
Thank you. Chang?
Chang votes yes.
Thank you. Chapman?
Chapman votes yes.
Thank you. Charkoudian?
Charkoudian votes yes.
Thank you. Cole?
Cole votes yes.
Thank you. Coleman?
Coleman votes yes.
Thank you. Gorman?
Gorman, yes.
Thank you. Kucha?
Kuchia, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Curtis?
Curtis, yes.
Thank you. Airman?
Airman votes yes.
Thank you. Flores?
Flores, yes.
Thank you. Flynn, yes. Forsberg? Oh, right. Hope he gets that fixed. Franker?
Franker's a yes.
Thank you. Friedman?
Friedman, yes.
Thank you. Froman?
Froman, yes.
Thank you. Galloway?
Galloway, yes.
Thank you. Goldstein?
Goldstein, yes.
Thank you. Grant?
Grant, yes.
Thank you. Gupta?
Gupta, yes.
Thank you. James?
James, yes.
Thank you. Joyce?
Joyce, yes.
Thank you. Kay?
Yes.
Thank you. Canal?
Cannell, yes.
Thank you. Kettering?
Kettering, yes.
Thank you. Lerner?
Lerner, yes.
Thank you. Lewinson?
Lewinson, yes.
Thank you. Oh, Bernard.
Yes.
Thank you. Mahoney?
Tony, yes.
Thank you. McHugh?
McHugh, yes.
Thank you. Meltzer?
So yes, thank you.
Thank you. Moore?
More yes.
Thank you. Mullen?
Mullen, yes.
Thank you. Schneck?
Schneck votes yes.
Thank you. Star?
Star votes yes.
Thank you. Jimmy Sung? Vera Sung?
Very yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Townley?
Townley, yes.
Thank you. Z? Chow Z? All right. You?
You votes yes.
Thank you. Zelter?
Zelter votes yes.
Thank you.
Awesome, everybody. Thank you,
Good
Pat.
night.
Motion to adjourn.
Mimi, thank you. Thank you for your
Second it.
job.
Good night.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
thank you
night.
guys. Thank you
everybody.
all.
Thank you,
Long
everybody.
meeting, but good job. Thank you all.
Good, everybody.